Vol 2, Chapter 141, My Own Weapon. Tang Xiao examined the hilt in his hands, puzzled. It featured a solitary button, yet pressing it achieved nothing. "This is your future weapon, a lightsaber," Darth Plagueis stated calmly. "But how do I activate it?" Tang Xiao inquired, perplexed. Darth Plagueis let out a derisive snort. "Because it isn't yours yet." With a casual wave of his hand, the hilt flew from Tang Xiao's grasp towards him and disassembled midair into over 10 pieces, among which lay a crystal. This crystal shimmered like a diamond, albeit with a faint whiteness that diminished its transparency. "The Kyber crystal, the heart of a lightsaber's energy," Darth Plagueis explained. "It can unleash a plasma blade with temperatures soaring into the millions of degrees, capable of annihilating anything in its path. However, the crystal requires refinement to control the plasma blade's release. While machinery can process it, a lightsaber thus produced will not reach its full potential." He gestured, and the crystal levitated towards Tang Xiao, rotating before his eyes. "Hence, whether Jedi Knights or Sith Lords, we prefer to use our own force to refine the Kyber crystal. A lightsaber crafted this way becomes truly ours, an extension of our being, our very own weapon." Tang Xiao nodded in understanding. "So, because I haven't refined this Kyber crystal, I can't activate the plasma blade." "Correct," Darth Plagueis confirmed. "However, Kyber crystals naturally resist the dark side of the Force, showing a preference for the light side's natural affinity. The dark side, in contrast, defies nature." With another wave of his hand, a lightsaber detached from his waist and disassembled in the air, revealing its intricate structure and a blood-red Kyber crystal. "This is a Kyber crystal subdued by the dark side's power, turning it red. A red lightsaber is more potent than its counterparts, but also more challenging to wield." "I understand, Honorable Lord. My task is to subdue this uncolored Kyber crystal, correct?" Tang Xiao asked. "Not just that," Darth Plagueis continued gravely. "You must also reassemble your lightsaber in a manner unique to you. It must be assembled in such a way that a Jedi Master cannot simply deactivate it in combat or dismantle it." He emphasized, "Remember, trust no one. The only ally you can rely on in battle is the lightsaber in your grasp." He then reassembled the colorless Kyber crystal into a lightsaber and handed it back to Tang Xiao. "Now, strike me with the hilt as forcefully as you can." Tang Xiao hesitated, understanding the implications, yet he gripped the hilt firmly and swung it towards Darth Plagueis' forehead with all his might. His enhanced physique, bolstered by the Force, made this a formidable attack. However, as he swung, the hilt disintegrated in his hand, scattering into countless pieces. Caught off guard, his momentum lost, Tang Xiao stumbled forward towards Darth Plagueis. In the next instant, a cold, large hand clutched his neck. The moon's long fingers not only compressed Tang Xiao's windpipe, but also the back of his neck, asserting dominance. After a tense moment, Darth Plagueis forcefully threw Tang Xiao onto a rudimentary-looking machine behind him. "Assembling a lightsaber is straightforward. I will instruct you on its assembly and usage." Darth Plagueis spoke with a chilling tone. "We are here to reforge the Kyber crystal. This process is not brief, and during this time, I will entrust you with the Book of the Sith to occupy yourself." Tang Xiao couldn't help but think disdainfully. Is he suggesting the Book of the Sith is some light reading, akin to a comic or novel? He mentally compared it to Mein Kampf, acknowledging the dark and profound nature of its content, known to those who understood its true essence. Noticing Tang Xiao's skepticism, Darth Plagueis elaborated with a calm demeanor. "The Book of the Sith essentially contains the biographies of Sith Lords and their philosophies regarding all beings in the galaxy. However, they've also imbued it with their essence. Each Sith Lord represented a pinnacle of power in the galaxy, and their insights into the dark side of the Force varied significantly. The depth of understanding you gain from this tome will depend on your ability to assimilate their wisdom. If you succeed in integrating their insights, your mastery over the dark side of the Force will ascend to new heights." "I understand, my lord," Tang Xiao responded, acknowledging the gravity of the task ahead. Meanwhile, the decadent celebration on Sojourn, the Moon of the Hunter, continued unabated. This event was a haven for the participants to explore the darkest corners of their souls without the constraints of morality, ethics, or law. Here, indulgence was not just an option but a way of life, encompassing every desire of the flesh and spirit. The promise of unlimited beauty, wine, and food was no exaggeration. A request for 10,000 beauties would be met with a mere nod from Sojourn's master, who could fulfill such a demand instantaneously. The most thrilling aspect of the festivities was the hunt, designed to awaken the bloodthirsty instincts within. Rare and formidable beasts from across the galaxy were made vulnerable for the amusement of the well-armed guests. Armed with guns, knives, or even bare hands, they would engage in a brutal pursuit, reveling in the warmth of their prey's blood. Following the exhilarating hunt, an abundance of beauties, wine, and delicacies awaited to satisfy any remaining desires. Amidst these opulent and hedonistic activities, sinister and corrupt dealings were quietly brokered among the guests. Each participant held significant influence, and the agreements they reached had the power to alter the destinies of countless individuals across entire planets. Vol 2, Chapter 142, The Dirty Party. 3 days into the grand soirée, the host of the event on planet Sojourn, Hego Damask II, also known as the second king of the Black Go-Damask dynasty, finally made his appearance. Without any formal introduction, he naturally became the focal point of the gathering. The galaxy's elite, eager for a slice of prosperity, crowded around him, each hoping to catch his attention with offers of lucrative deals and rare treasures. Mr. Black G, I'm planning to acquire a company on Mon Calamari with assets exceeding 5 billion credits. With a bit of coercion, I'm confident we can secure an additional 500 million. If you could assist in this matter, we could split the company's shares equally. Mr. Kuro, I have a rare gem for you, a human beauty, trained from birth to be flawless in both looks and manners. She could be yours if you're interested. Teacher, do you have any insider information on the Galactic Council's plans to impose trade taxes on the Outer Rim? I'm willing to invest 100 million credits for such information. Mr. Black Gay, with the famine on Rhodia, imagine if I could secure exclusive rights to their food trade. I'd be willing to share 30% of the profits with you. Hego Damask II navigated through the crowd with an air of indifference, occasionally engaging in brief exchanges. He remained non-committal to most propositions, offering only polite smiles in response. However, his demeanor changed upon encountering the individual offering the human beauty. He paused, his interest piqued, and said, I'll take the woman. State your terms clearly, no deceit. The offerer was hard to miss, a repulsive, 2-meter-tall insect, clad in a protective suit adorned with metal trinkets, an attempt to beautify her grotesque form. Delighted by Black G's attention, she eagerly responded, Mr. Black G, I own several businesses on Mallastar, but given the planet's current instability, I'm looking to expand. Identify the company on Mallastar you're interested in. Prepare to offer 1/10 of its market value to my assistant. Once the deal is finalized, it's yours, Black G replied coolly. Truly? That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're a savior to me and my ancestors. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the insect struggled to find the most effusive way to express her thanks, given her inability to kneel. This exchange sparked envy among the onlookers. One particularly corpulent individual whispered, Isn't that Proxima? I heard she's the leader of a new group on Corellia called the White Worm Gang. How did she manage to gain favor with Master Hego? A chilling voice interrupted. Daring to speak ill of Mrs. Pixie, are we? You're quite bold. Who dares to insult me? Do you know who I am? The man retorted, turning to face his critic, only to blanch at the sight. Of course I know you, Governor of Planet Aldrian, Sotamo. But do you recognize me? A stern-faced man in his 30s approached, his grip tightening on Sotamo's shoulder as he whispered menacingly. Dr. Dryden Voss of the Scarlet Dawn. Correct. Enjoy the party, Governor. It's your last, Dryden Voss said, patting Sotamo's shoulder before walking away. The chapter vividly portrays the intricate dynamics and power plays at a high-stakes gathering in the galaxy, highlighting the influence and authority of Hego Damask II amidst a backdrop of ambition and desperation. Governor Sotamo collapsed to his knees with a heavy thud, his back drenched in cold sweat. Desperately, he raised his head and called out to the retreating figure. Mr. High, Teacher High, please help me. Before he could finish his plea, several guards clad in silver uniforms approached and took hold of Governor Sotamo. These were the Achana Sun Guards, sworn protectors of the planet Sogolon. Master Haiga has no interest in failures, one guard stated dismissively, dragging Governor Sotamo away. Hego Damask Tsiku, engaged in conversation with a Neimoidian, glanced over at the disturbance but quickly lost interest. Turning his gaze toward the ancient castle hidden in the shadows, he murmured to himself, "Indeed, I have no interest in failures." Only he was aware of the ancient, powerful, and chaotic dark side force that enveloped the castle, its presence tumultuous and fierce. "Mr. Hego, what did you just say?" asked the Neimoidian, puzzled by Hego's comment. "It's nothing. Let's continue, Miss Newt Gunley. I understand you're quite interested in becoming the governor of the Trade Federation, correct?" Haijie inquired with a tone of indifference. Meanwhile, within the ancient castle, Tang Xiao sat cross-legged in the center of a sparsely furnished room, the cold stone floor beneath him. Before him lay the Book of the Sith and a pure kyber crystal. Despite the chill of the stone, he felt an intense heat burning within him. In this secluded space, free from any distractions, Tang Xiao found himself deep in thought for the first time since his arrival in the Star Wars universe. A year had passed since his unexpected journey began, and the initial anger and confusion had long since faded. He had dedicated himself to meticulous planning and relentless effort, driven by a single goal, to conquer this galaxy. As he perused the Book of the Sith, feeling the rage and defiance of the Sith Lords within its pages, a realization dawned on him. He shared a profound connection with these figures. Note 1. While Vixie is used in the translation of Ranger Solo, we typically prefer Proxima. However, in keeping with the movie translations, Vixie will be used here. Vol 2, Chapter 143, Erosion. Star Wars, The Fourth Scourge. Erosion. Tang Xiao's resolve had never wavered, even if his declarations to the void that spanned galaxies were tinged with impulsiveness and anger. His original intention remained steadfast. He understood that war was his inevitable path, with no alternatives in sight. Regardless of who had transported him to this world, who had bestowed upon him the cushioned mothership, or the fact that the mothership's database was brimming with fictional technologies from various sci-fi games and movies, not to mention those who were merely avatars. The purpose behind this existence mattered little. With these assets at his disposal, Tang Xiao saw war as his only viable option. He couldn't simply stay idle and await the outcome of conflicts beyond his galaxy. According to the narrative, once the Galactic Republic fell and the Galactic Empire rose to power, the Empire would swiftly set its sights on the Endor galaxy, intending to establish a secret base there. For Tang Xiao, this spelled certain doom. Thus, his sole strategy was to prevent the Galactic Empire from encroaching upon his galaxy before these events unfolded. The Clone Wars, 13 years later, presented his last and best opportunity. Choosing this path meant severing ties with the light side of the Force. He had an entire colony to consider. If he were alone, perhaps he could have joined the Jedi Order, aligning himself with light and justice. But that was not an option. The Absolute Warriors offered no assistance. Only the Sith Lord could aid him. Perhaps it was fate or the Force's will that led him to depart the colony and travel to the planet Tatooine shortly after his arrival. This decision prevented bounty hunters from attacking in his absence, but it also meant he missed the chance encounter with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. In hindsight, had he not left, Qui-Gon Jinn might have detected the growing darkness within him, potentially leading to an even more dire situation than a mere skirmish with bounty hunters. Later, he was approached with a proposition by Hego Damask II, granting him access to one of the galaxy's deepest and most potent sources of darkness, Darth Plagueis. Darkside. Tang Xiao took a deep breath. From the outset, this was his only path, to choose darkness, embrace it, and ultimately control it. Now the galaxy's deepest and darkest shadows lay before him. The Book of Sith and the residual dark while emanating from the ancient Sith relief surrounding him roared like monstrous entities, seeking to devour his mind and claim his body. Yet, unlike his previous fears, Tang Xiao now faced them with calm resolve. He stared unflinchingly at these nihilistic beasts, unafraid even as they howled and occasionally passed through him. He quietly observed the Book of the Sith, absorbing the anger and despair of the Sith Lords within its pages. The legends, vilified throughout the galaxy, the dread of being hunted by the Jedi Order, the fear of perishing under the light, and the deep-seated hatred for the Galactic Republic that had persisted since the Sith Empire's inception. All these emotions resonated with him. How similar their fates were to his own. Should the fourth civilization collapse, he would face a fate far worse, 100 times more miserable. Thus, he resolved to grow stronger, whether through his own power or that of the fourth civilization. Strength was his mantra, leading to war and conquest, all to ensure the fourth civilization's supremacy over the Milky Way. Before him, the once pure Kyber crystal began to quiver, with strands of red filaments emerging within, spreading gradually. Meanwhile, in the galaxy's inner circle, on the planet Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic and its political heart, a man sat in a secluded corner of a luxurious restaurant on the 10th basement floor. His hair was shaved down to a stubble, a choice made long before he embraced his current path. He is Douglas Stamp, the Chief of Staff for Francis Underwood, the current Cabinet Hief of the Fourth Civilization, possessed a visage marked by sharp, eagle-like eyes and cheeks that were deeply recessed into his cheekbones. At this moment, he was idly rotating a wineglass in his hand, his gaze fixed intently on the individual seated across from him. This individual was a Neimoidian, distinguishable by his robe, towering crown, and the distinctive lack of a nose on his otherwise unattractive face, complemented by orange, lidless eyes covered by a thin membrane. However, this Neimoidian, named Rune Hako, displayed none of the typical arrogance associated with his species. Instead, he appeared visibly nervous, his eyes darting between Douglas's expression and his own fidgeting fingers. As sweat began to bead on his forehead, Douglas finally broke the silence. Attempting to manipulate the accounts of the trade union is not only unwise, but it's even more imprudent when such actions are uncovered. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Rune Hako? Rune Hako trembled, his fear palpable. In a vain attempt to mask his anxiety, he reached for his glass, intending to take a sip. However, his trembling hands caused the wine to spill. He was acutely aware of the dire consequences if Douglas were to report his embezzlement of millions of galaxy credits to the trade union. Such a sum could easily purchase a frigate, and he doubted he was valued more than such a vessel in the eyes of the trade union's leadership. Rune Hako was baffled as to how his carefully planned scheme had been discovered. His intention had been to use the embezzled funds to ascend the ranks within the trade union and curry favor with Newt Gunley, a sector director whose star was on the rise. Instead, he found himself at the mercy of Douglas, who seemed more demon than man in this moment. "What do you want? I'll give you anything. Do you want the money? It's yours. Just say the word." Rune Hako pleaded in a hushed tone. Douglas, however, remained unmoved by the offer. Using the trade union's funds to bribe its own officials for personal gain, let me guess, your ultimate target was Newt Gunley, correct? Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, The Neimoidians, Rune Hako. In the first Star Wars prequel film, The Phantom Menace, he served as Newt Gunley's lieutenant. Vol 2, Chapter 144, Trade Union, Star Wars, The Fourth Scourge. Rune Hark's body trembled violently as he stared at Douglas in disbelief. He had never shared his aspiration to align closely with Newt Gunley with anyone, nor had he left any written records of such plans. Yet the man before him had pinpointed his deepest unspoken thoughts with unsettling accuracy. "So tell me," Douglas Stamp continued, his voice smooth as he leisurely swirled his glass, "should I shatter the dreams of a promising employee, or should I help him realize his ambitions?" Rune Hako felt utterly overpowered. Slumping towards the table, his voice quivered as he whispered, "I'll do whatever you ask of me, no matter what it is." Douglas regarded him with a satisfied look, exchanging a knowing glance with a woman seated at a nearby table. Dressed sharply in a shirt, pencil skirt, and black stockings, she exuded the aura of a formidable office executive, save for the 2 strands of purple-dyed hair framing her face. She was the renowned super hacker, Super Lotus, who had recently arrived on Coruscant. Effortlessly, she swiped her fingers across her personal terminal, a smirk playing on her lips as she intercepted a communication signal with a few taps, then signaled Douglas covertly. Douglas nodded, his voice firm. "Forget about any backup plans you had. They won't be coming." Rune Hako's legs gave way, nearly causing him to slide under the table in despair. With no hope left, he could only nod in silent submission. Douglas slid a note across the table. Follow these instructions, and you'll secure a future for yourself. Otherwise, upon reading the note, Rune Hako broke out in a cold sweat. If I do this, the higher-ups will never look at me the same way again. It seems you've chosen your future over their approval, Douglas observed. No, I'll do it, Rune Hako conceded. Very good, but don't worry, your efforts will be duly recognized, Douglas assured him. The Milky Way Outer Rim Planet Mutual Aid Fund has successfully garnered the signatures of 94 planetary counselors. With just 6 more, our proposal will be up for discussion in the Galactic Council. We are on the brink of achieving our goal. Claire Underwood proclaimed from the stage during a rally. Representatives from planets such as Rhodia, Semirth, Jabim, and Malastar stood beside her, their cheers mingling with hers. We stand united against injustice and exploitation. We will make our voices heard across the galaxy. Claire's voice rang out, met with thunderous applause and cheers from the audience. The atmosphere was electric with enthusiasm. However, the moment was shattered by a sudden gunshot from a nearby building. An explosive energy beam struck the podium in front of Claire, obliterating it instantly. In the blink of an eye, T-850 bodyguards sprang into action, shielding Claire and swiftly moving her to safety. The other bodyguards reacted with equal speed, escorting their charges away from the danger. The crowd erupted into screams and panic, scattering in all directions, while reporters surged forward, eager to capture every moment of the chaos. Meanwhile, in an office of the Trade Federation on Coruscant, Rune Hako adjusted his black top hat and took a deep, nervous breath before stepping out. He instructed his secretary, issue an immediate announcement to Planet Rhodia and Planet Jabim. Inform them that if they do not withdraw from the Mutual Aid Fund, their transportation tax will increase by 50% starting next month. The Twi'lek female secretary, taken aback by the drastic measure, quickly responded, the Milky Way Outer Rim Planetary Mutual Aid Fund is currently at the center of public attention. Rune Hako's voice pierced the air with sharp urgency. Idiot! If we allow the mutual funds to continue expanding their influence unchecked, it will directly impact our profits. You must choose between preserving our image or safeguarding our earnings. His assistant, visibly shaken, hastily grabbed the communicator to execute Rune Hako's directive. The news of the attack on Claire Underwood, the founder of the Outer Galactic Planet Mutual Aid Fund, spread like wildfire across the galaxy within hours. Journalists and media, ever eager to uncover conspiracies, quickly linked the shooting to those who stood to lose from the fund's success. The primary suspect? The Trade Alliance, whose monopolistic practices were threatened by the Mutual Aid Fund's mission to support the less developed Outer Ring galaxies. The Mutual Aid Fund aimed to foster cooperation among these underdeveloped regions, challenging the capitalists who profited from monopolizing planetary trade. The Trade Alliance, in particular, faced significant repercussions. Known for dominating the transportation sector, the Alliance's business model relied on the technological disparities within the Galactic Republic. Many member planets, still in technological infancy or even pre-industrial stages, depended on the Alliance for space travel and trade. The Galactic Republic had policies in place to support these planets' integration, but the implementation was lackluster at best. Nonetheless, membership required representation in Coruscant, the Republic's capital, posing a logistical challenge for these primitive worlds. The solution? The Trade Alliance offered its services, transporting representatives and goods across the galaxy, thus embedding itself as an indispensable part of the Republic's logistics network. Over time, the Trade Federation's control over the transportation industry became almost unassailable, especially in the technologically backward Outer Ring. This dominance was precisely why the Federation viewed the Mutual Aid Fund with hostility. The fund's success threatened to dismantle the monopolistic grip the Trade Federation held over the galaxy's logistics. Vol 2, Chapter 145, Political Victim. The trade union's dominance as the galaxy's foremost monopoly is well known, its power and influence undisputed. However, a potential alliance among the Outer Rim planets threatened to challenge this supremacy. Thus, when Claire Underwood, the initiator of the Outer Rim Planet Mutual Aid Fund, was assaulted, suspicion immediately fell upon the trade union. Their motive was clear, and their interest in dissolving the mutual aid was evident. Runhako's statement only served to confirm these suspicions. In a bold move, he pressured planets supporting the mutual aid, including Jabeam and Rhodia, to sever their ties with the fund. The timing of his declaration, coinciding precisely with Claire Underwood's attack, was too conspicuous to ignore. As Claire was rushed to the hospital, these planets publicly announced their withdrawal from the fund, their statements laden with insinuations that pointed directly at the trade union. In the days that followed, the trade union's aggressive tactics to dismantle the mutual aid fund became apparent. They resorted to violence against its founder and coerced the vulnerable Outer Rim planets into abandoning the initiative. In a hospital located on the 10th underground floor of Coruscant, Francis Underwood entered Claire's ward with a bouquet of flowers. He greeted his wife and assistant with a warm smile, replaced the flowers the trade union had sent with his own, and joked about their choice of a peace offering. Claire, maintaining her public composure, responded with a practiced smile, hinting at the gravity of their situation. Francis, sensing the seriousness, sat beside her, offering comfort and understanding. They both knew the risks involved in their plan, acknowledging the possibility of failure and its dire consequences. Claire speculated on the mishap during her speech, suggesting the bomb's detonation was accidental. Francis, concerned, reassured her of their intentions and the necessity of their actions. Discussing the trade union's visit, Claire recognized it as a crisis management effort. Francis agreed, emphasizing the need to publicly absolve the trade union of blame to avoid pushing Runhako into a corner. However, they also acknowledged that someone must be scapegoated. Francis revealed their plan to frame Runhako's secretary, a Twi'lek woman, as a spy. She would be accused of collaborating with the Trade Federation's rivals, orchestrating the assassination attempt and the public withdrawal from the Mutual Aid Fund. This strategy aimed to discredit the trade union while providing a plausible narrative to explain the events. As they strategized, Francis confirmed that everything was proceeding as planned. The Trade Federation would deny involvement in the assassination, maintaining their innocence while the true culprits remained hidden. This intricate web of political maneuvering highlighted the lengths to which individuals would go to protect their interests and the sacrifices made by those caught in the crossfire of galactic politics. Welcome any scrutiny in society, but they will also concede that it serves the Trade Federation's interests for Runhark to coerce those planets out of the Mutual Aid Fund, Francis said, taking a deep breath. Everything is unfolding as the managers anticipated. The trade union's diplomatic tactics and behavior within the Galactic Republic have grown more aggressive. They'll never acknowledge their actions, though. And the Twi'lek female secretary? Claire inquired. Why do you persist in asking about a victim? Francis replied with a faint smile. The trade union immediately arrested her. After enduring torture and interrogation to force a confession, she was dispatched to the planet Corellia. Rumor has it she was purchased by a slave owner named Mrs. Bixie, who plans either to sell her to the lowest brothel or dispose of her outright. But that's beyond our concern. She didn't commit any crimes, did she? She sacrificed her freedom for our cause. She ought to be thankful, Francis Stein aided coldly. My worries aren't about her, but about Runhako, Claire said, feigning indifference. Without our intervention, his future in the trade union is doomed, Francis remarked. We shouldn't concern ourselves with starting this. Runhark deserves his fate, and will find other pawns in time, Claire argued. The manager predicted that Runhark would eventually become the deputy to the future governor of the Trade Federation, Newt Gunley, and prosper. However, I've lost touch with the manager recently, and am unsure of his plans, Francis shared. When you speak of political victims, I'm one too, aren't I? Claire asked softly. What are you saying? You're a hero, Claire. Just continue on our path, and through the personas we've crafted, your political influence will only expand. One day, even Schiff Palpatine will have to acknowledge our power, Francis encouraged. Claire Underwood nodded silently, leaned back against the headboard, and said warily, I'm exhausted and wish to rest for a while. Francis Underwood tenderly embraced her, gently laying her down on the pillow. He carefully adjusted the feather-like quilt over her and concluded with a soft kiss on Claire's lips. "Good night, my love." Vol 2, Chapter 146, The First Step. In the heart of Coruscant, 20 floors below the surface, Francis Underwood stood by the window of his new, more spacious and luxurious residence. He gazed out at the never-ending lights of Lausanne's basement, a cigarette dangling from his fingers. It was well past midnight, and the ashtray before him overflowed with butts, the rising smoke drawing the attention of the public security patrol. The officers, arriving on a hoverbike, cast Francis a curious glance, but departed without a word. Claire Underwood had become the hero Francis had envisioned, with the media outside fervently reporting on her achievements. Under his covert influence, the press depicted Claire as a champion who stood against the Trade Federation's might, advocating for the neglected planets in the Outer Rim. Yet Francis felt no joy. The path to this victory had been fraught with peril, requiring Claire to employ desperate measures to succeed. He understood that the best way to honor Claire's efforts was to press on, to grow stronger. This was the vow he had made upon their marriage. Claire's ambition for power surpassed even his own. Obscurity was a fate she found worse than death. A figure approached, casually taking the half-smoked cigarette from Francis, inhaling deeply before snuffing out the rest. "This is the last one for tonight," she said. "You should be resting in the hospital," Francis remarked without turning. "The microbombs have shifted slightly, but the damage is manageable. The doctor recommended a few days of rest, but I can't afford to be absent from the trade union's site." "Rune Hark cannot exit the stage so soon," Claire replied, standing beside Francis, sharing the view from the window. "And you? How are things on your end?" she inquired after a moment. Francis closed the cigarette case, his mind on their next moves. "This event has garnered our fourth civilization more attention. My next step involves discussions with Rhodia, Jabim, and Semils, planets we've recently befriended, to deepen our cooperation. I plan to sell some of our decommissioned blade fighters to Rhodia to bolster their food supply channels." "What about Palpatine?" Claire asked. "He'll seek me out soon enough. I've caught wind of trouble in the Galactic Council. Speaker Finis Valorum faces investigation and possible impeachment for bribery. His position is precarious, which works in our favor. He's pushing for a tax bill on the Outer Rim," Francis explained. Claire chuckled. "It's astonishing. The Galactic Republic has existed for over 20,000 years, yet it's never managed to tax the Outer Rim. The irony. That's because the Trade Federation and other conglomerates control the Outer Rim's commerce. Over 90% of the Outer Rim planet's external trade must pass through these entities. If Valorum's bill passes, it would be a significant victory for the Republic, weakening the scrutiny on him. However, this bill would cut into the Trade Federation's profits," Francis said with a smirk. "It's no surprise the Trade Federation has targeted my relief fund. They must feel the pressure from the Galactic Council. What will you do if Palpatine approaches you?" Claire asked. "The manager remains unreachable, but he has predicted Palpatine's political maneuvers, if his judgment is correct." Francis nodded, affirming the situation. Indeed, Palpatine aims to position himself as a mediator in this affair. On the surface, both parties appear blameless, yet they covertly support the Trade Federation to undermine Phoenix Valorum's credibility, he explained. "And what about us?" Claire inquired, her curiosity piqued. "After this episode, Palpatine might extend an invitation for us to engage in this initiative. The Mutual Aid Fund grants us a degree of influence over the Outer Rim planets, marking our foray into the galactic political arena," Francis replied, his smile hinting at the strategic advantage they stood to gain. "In light of this, the ordeal I endured seems a small price to pay," Claire remarked, her smile mirroring Francis's optimism. "My dear, I assure you, had there been an alternative, I would have spared you the hardship," Francis responded earnestly. Despite the gravity of their conversation, they shared a moment of companionship, gazing out the window at the landscape beyond, their closeness unspoken, yet palpable. "Promise me, when you ascend to the role of Prime Minister of the Empire, you'll return to offer your apologies," Claire half-joked, half-serious. 2 months later, on Sojourn, the The remnants of a grand celebration lingered, with a few guests still present on the planet. These individuals were the fortunate ones who had brokered deals with the host, Hago Damask II, necessitating further detailed discussions. Hago was engaged in conversation with Mrs. Bixie, an unsightly large insectoid, over glasses of wine. They were deliberating on the division of industrial assets on the planet Malastar, a discussion also involving Dryden Voss, the youthful leader of the Scarlet Dawn. Both Pixie and Voss were notable for their emergence as ruthless, versatile, and influential figures within the galaxy, traits that Hago found particularly appealing. Hago's philosophy was to nurture such emerging forces to challenge the established order, thereby keeping the galaxy in a state of flux from which he could continually derive benefit. Throughout their conversation, Hago's gaze occasionally drifted towards an ancient castle nestled against the mountainside, a mysterious smile playing at the corners of his mouth. He sensed through the dark side of the Force that the chaotic presence once emanating from the castle had vanished, replaced by an eerie silence. It was as if all essence within had been absorbed by an unseen entity. The dark energies that had lingered in the castle's ruins were now gone, suggesting the presence of something akin to a cocoon enveloped in the dark side's power, gathering strength, and on the verge of transformation. Vol 2, Chapter 147, My Lightsaber. Tang Xiao sat solemnly within the confines of the ancient castle, his eyes closed in deep meditation. Before him, suspended in the air, was a diamond-shaped crystal of a deep blood-red hue. It rotated slowly, manipulated by an unseen force. Occasionally, wisps of black smoke curled around it, and though there was no sound, one could sense the echoes of screams that seemed to pierce the soul. The distorted Sith reliefs that adorned the walls around him no longer disturbed Tang Xiao. He had come to a full understanding of their message, a testament to the millennia-long curse and struggle against the Galactic Republic. These reliefs were imbued with the wills of countless dark side warriors, once formidable fighters of the Sith Empire. In their defeat and demise at the hands of the Galactic Republic, they left behind their final wishes, cursing the Republic with every passing day. Having deciphered the profound meanings behind these reliefs, Tang Xiao found himself able to draw the remaining dark side wills into the Kyber crystal floating before him. This ability came to him naturally, a skill not even Darth Plagueis, his mentor, had taught him. It seemed not even Plagueis was aware of such a force technique. Perhaps, Tang Xiao mused, this was a manifestation of his unique talent. While Tang Xiao could have absorbed these residual thoughts directly to enhance his own strength, he chose not to. He remained cautious of this force technique, wary that these remnants might influence his mind if taken into his body. Instead, he opted to channel these remnants into the Kyber crystal. After absorbing hundreds of thousands of dark side remnants, the crystal underwent a significant transformation. Its shape became more defined, taking on a flat diamond appearance, and its color deepened to a scarlet that was more intense than blood, almost a pure red. Surrounding this vivid hue were countless black filaments, the remnants of the dark side. As Tang Xiao's consciousness lingered over the Book of Sith, he sensed 4 or 5 particularly powerful remnants within its pages. These remnants were distinctly different from those on the surrounding reliefs, bearing the essence of ancient and powerful Sith lords such as Sorzus Sin, Darth Margos, and Darth Bane. Among them, Tang Xiao was surprised to find traces of Darth Plagueis remnants, likely because Plagueis had contributed his own experiences to the book. This discovery led Tang Xiao to understand that these remnants were not souls left behind after death, but rather projections of consciousness left by these dark side force users. Although powerful, Tang Xiao hesitated to absorb them directly. However, he gleaned much from their presence. From Darth Plagueis' consciousness, he sensed a boundless ambition to rule the galaxy, a plan nearing fruition, and a pervasive fear of death, revealing Plagueis' obsession with achieving immortality. A cruel smile played at the corner of Tang Xiao's mouth as he contemplated the potential of this ability. It was indeed fascinating, and with further development, it could become even more formidable. But for now, it was time to proceed. With a deliberate motion, he reached out and grasped the scarlet-red Kyber crystal. In that instant, a surge of dark side power erupted, and the residual thoughts clinging to the crystal stirred restlessly. They sought to break free from their crystalline prison and consume the souls of the living, their roars, screams, and curses filling the room with an eerie cacophony. Surrounded by countless spectral remnants, Tang Xiao stood undaunted. His goal was clear: to conquer the Kyber crystal that had absorbed these dark entities. This crystal, now far stronger than its ordinary counterparts due to the remnants it contained, essentially granted Tang Xiao an unparalleled advantage. Yet, the path was not without its trials. Despite the excruciating pain as if his soul was being incessantly gnawed at, Tang Xiao did not falter. With the dark side of the Force as his ally, he waged a relentless battle against the remnants, aiming to subdue them with his indomitable will and strength. This struggle was not brief. The clash of formidable forces caused the ancient room to fracture, its walls and reliefs developing countless cracks that spread and widened until they shattered. The sound of breaking stone echoed continuously as the room's structure succumbed to the destruction. An ancient support column, adorned with intricate patterns, splintered under the strain. The sudden collapse of the room, buried under centuries of history, turned priceless artifacts into mere rubble. The disturbance caught the attention of King Hago Damask VII, who observed the destruction of a section of the ancient castle with a curious expression, his thoughts inscrutable. Amidst the debris, an unusual phenomenon occurred. The shattered stones did not scatter, but hovered in midair, defying gravity. From this chaos emerged Tang Xiao, his body marred with wounds and his left shoulder dislocated, yet his expression remained stoic. With a simple gesture, a blood-red, diamond-shaped kyber crystal floated gracefully into his hand, obediently settling in his palm. Then, as if summoned, over a dozen metal parts rose from the rubble, assembling before Tang Xiao in an unconventional manner. The pieces of the lightsaber joined together in a complex sequence, each component locking into place with precision. The activation switch, ingeniously hidden within the hilt, could only be operated through a specific frequency of the Force. The hilt itself was a striking black, adorned with a ring of barbs at the front that, upon activation, seemed to reverently encircle the plasma blade. As the final pieces came together, enclosing the kyber crystal at its core, the crystal emitted a piercing, soul-wrenching scream, as if protesting its imprisonment within the newly forged lightsaber. Vol 2, Chapter 148, New Friends. Tang Xiao's mind raced as he activated the hidden button on his lightsaber. With a swift motion, a blood-red plasma light blade, measuring 1 meter in length, emerged with a soft, buzzing sound. Holding the lightsaber before him, Tang Xiao noted that the blade emitted no heat to the touch. However, he was aware that upon contact with any object, or when stimulated by his force, the plasma blade could instantly unleash a temperature of hundreds of thousands of degrees, sufficient to obliterate anything in its path. Channeling his force into the lightsaber, Tang Xiao heard a faint screeching noise as countless black phantoms spilled out from the weapon, swirling around him. A smirk played at the corner of his mouth as he deactivated the lightsaber and tucked its hilt into his pocket, opting not to hang it from his waist. He then made his way to the grand and opulent building square where the party had been held. By now, the party had ended, and the square was deserted, save for a few maintenance staff diligently working to keep the area pristine. Despite the absence of guests, their commitment to cleanliness and order remained unwavering. Approaching a sink, Tang Xiao caught sight of his reflection in the mirror. His appearance was disheveled, with hair matted and unkempt, resembling that of a beggar. Yet the service staff showed no disdain. Instead, several maids promptly attended to him, assisting with a bath, a change of clothes, and grooming that included shaving his beard and trimming his hair. After their meticulous care, Tang Xiao's handsome features were restored, though his complexion remained somewhat pale. Noticing a small black mark on his forehead, he attempted to rub it away to no avail and decided to cover it with a strand of hair. Freshly groomed, Tang Xiao stepped outside to find Darth Plagueis and 2 others on a spacious terrace, a creature and a human, to be precise. "Mr. Black G, I have arrived," Tang Xiao announced, addressing Darth Plagueis with the respect due to him in the presence of others. Darth Plagueis nodded slightly and introduced the 2 companions. This is Mrs. Pixie, leader of the emerging White Worm organization in Corellia, and Dryden Voss, leader of the Crimson Dawn. Tang Xiao greeted them with a polite bow. Hello, I'm Tang Xiao, a disciple of teacher Haigi. It's a pleasure to meet you. Despite Mrs. Pixie's unsettling insect-like appearance, Tang Xiao's demeanor remained composed. The backgrounds of both individuals flashed through his mind, revealing their future dominance in the underworld. Mrs. Pixie and Dryden Voss returned the greeting with polite curiosity, pondering how to engage with this young man who claimed to be Darth Plagueis's disciple. Given Darth Plagueis's silence on the matter, they accepted Tang Xiao's status. It's rare to see such a young and promising individual as Mr. Tang Xiao. Being a disciple of Teacher Black Gay speaks volumes of your potential. It's unfortunate that I cannot leave Corellia, but should you ever visit, I insist on extending my hospitality, Mrs. Pixie said with a respectful nod. Dude, I'll keep it simple. If you ever need anything, just give me a shout, Dryden Voss added, clapping Tang Xiao on the shoulder with a hearty laugh. Had Tang Xiao not known of their ruthless reputations from the plot, he might have believed them to be genuinely affable individuals. With a lightened mood, Hige decided it was time for a test. Tang Xiao, since you're in good spirits now, I have a challenge for you, Hige announced suddenly. Please, tell me, Tang Xiao responded, bowing his head respectfully. Hige gestured for the group to follow him, leading them to a vast gladiatorial arena. This arena was a colossal circular field, spanning over 300 meters in diameter, dotted with numerous rocks arranged to mimic a rugged mountainous terrain. Standing in the deserted stands, Hige began to explain, I have a profound partnership with the Kaminoans, who are renowned across the galaxy for their advanced cloning technology. We procure the genetic material of rare and sometimes extinct animals, which the Kaminoans then clone. These creatures are brought to Sojourn for our esteemed guests to hunt. As he pressed a button, a passageway at the field's edge swung open, unleashing a fearsome roar from its depths. For a hunt to be thrilling, it must feature the most ferocious of beasts. However, my guests are of the highest honor, and I cannot allow them to become prey. Thus, these beasts are modified to ensure our guests can dispatch them with ease. No sooner had he finished speaking than a monstrous beast charged out of the passage. This creature, 3 meters in length, was armored in hard scales, supported by 8 powerful legs. Its rear legs were broad for stability, while its front limbs, longer and equipped with sharp claws, were designed for deadly strikes. Upon spotting the group in the stands, the beast's demeanor turned frenzied, its eyes glowing red with rage. It leaped, reaching heights of 5 to 6 meters, before crashing against the protective shields surrounding them. Dryden Voss, I recall you mentioned bringing out 9 Morphstein octopods for the guests to hunt at this event, Dryden Voss remarked casually. Actually, it's 10, but this one, Hige said with a hint of mystery, hasn't been modified. It possesses the full predatory prowess of its ancestors from 100,000 years ago. He gestured and a cage emerged from the opposite passage, revealing a young woman veiled and dressed in light garments. She appeared no older than 16 or 17, her beauty in the prime of youth. Her blonde hair and delicate features could easily eclipse the most celebrated stars across the galaxy. Yet, fear had drained the color from her face as she stared at the approaching Morphstein octopod, her body trembling. Despite her desperate attempts to escape by shaking and pounding on the cage's bars, the surrounding energy shield rendered her efforts futile. Eventually, she resigned to her fate, curling up on the ground, hugging her knees, and burying her head to avoid witnessing the approaching terror. The Morphstein octopod, upon noticing the fresh meat delivered to its doorstep, focused its attention on the young woman. Opening its massive jaws, it revealed 3 rows of sharp fangs, with remnants of its last meal still lodged between them. Drooling with anticipation, it seemed to relish the prospect of devouring the delicious prey before it. Vol 2, Chapter 149, The Girl's Dream. Mrs. Pixie, observing from the sidelines, caught sight of the girl and let out a peculiar chuckle. Oh, isn't this my dear Alia Isabel? Heh. Mr. Haigi, it appears you've had your fun with this exquisite woman. Are you now planning to let her provide us with a final spectacle? I haven't laid a hand on her, Haig responded coolly. I merely imparted some life lessons. Thus, she remains untouched, a pristine beauty unlike any other in the world. A robot approached, presenting Haiji with a meter-long alloy sword. With a smirk, Haige announced, "The energy field surrounding the cage has been minimized. The dragon's assault will last no more than 5 minutes. So, who dares to play the hero?" He offered the sword to Mrs. Bixie. "If you can rescue her, she's yours. This means you get to claim a stake on planet Malistar without any investment. Isn't that a tempting offer?" Hey, combat isn't my forte. Perhaps Teacher Haige would prefer to savor this woman's company at his leisure, Mrs. Bixie replied, her laughter tinged with malice. As they conversed, the Morristine octopod in the had already ascertained the absence of traps. It launched into a frenzy, leaping onto the cage and clawing and biting wildly, causing the energy field to flicker intermittently. The woman inside the cage grew increasingly terrified. Her cries and screams filled the air as she looked towards the spectators with eyes brimming with despair. Haige remained indifferent, passing the sword to Dryden Voss. Perhaps the esteemed leader of Scarlet Dawn would care to save this damsel in distress? Although Voss found the woman desirable, he understood Haige's underlying message. Stepping back, he said with a sly grin, "I believe the most beautiful woman should be the reward for the bravest warrior." His gaze shifted to Tang Xiao, the implication clear. "Oh, so, Tang Xiao, what say you?" Haige inquired, a hint of provocation in his tone. Tang Xiao didn't hesitate, seizing the sword and brandishing it with ease. "This woman is mine. I thank you for the gift, teacher." The barrier in the spectator area lowered, and Tang Xiao leaped down. Utilizing the force, he covered a great distance with a single bound, landing deftly behind the Morristine octopod. "Hey, big lizard, looking for a little appetizer," he taunted. The octopod spun around, its 4 menacing eyes fixed on Tang Xiao. "Help, please. I'll do anything." Arya Isabel sobbed, finding solace in Tang Xiao's presence despite her tears. Tang Xiao, however, focused solely on the creature before him. The Morristine octopod was a formidable predator, its muscular build and razor-sharp claws capable of tearing through flesh with ease. Haige's choice of an alloy sword over a lightsaber was a clear restriction, challenging Tang Xiao to rely on his skills rather than his usual weaponry. 2 months prior, Tang Xiao would have balked at the prospect of facing such a beast. However, his recent meditations and mastery over the Kyber crystal had significantly enhanced his understanding and control of the dark side of the Force. His power had evolved remarkably in that time. The octopod reared up, its hind legs providing a stable base, while its forelimbs, armed with lethal claws, prepared to strike. With a thunderous roar, the creature leaped forward, its claws aiming for Tang Xiao from multiple directions. Tang Xiao stood his ground, his gaze locked on the approaching predator, a calm resolve in his eyes. The sharp claws, capable of piercing armor, drew nearer, yet he remained fearless. Arya, trapped in a cage, let out a cry, closing her eyes, unable to bear the sight. Suddenly, there was a swish, followed by the sound of blood splattering. A severed claw soared through the air, a gush of blood spraying from the cleanly cut wound before it spiraled down to the ground. Arya, witnessing this scene, was rendered speechless, her tears forgotten. In the audience, Mrs. Pixie and Drydenworth gasped in astonishment. Tang Xiao had merely stepped aside at the last moment, evading the claws aimed at his head. With a swift motion, he raised his long sword, almost as if he had anticipated the 8-legged dragon's move, allowing its claw to meet the blade. He flicked the sword elegantly, casting off the blood, and beckoned the beast with a hook of his finger. The 8-legged dragon, driven to fury by the pain, launched another frenzied attack on Tang Xiao. Its remaining claws, powerful tail, fearsome jaws, and even the spines on its back were all weapons in its arsenal. The rocky ground bore the marks of its rage, with deep scratches and even a stone slab being upturned. Yet, Tang Xiao faced the onslaught with remarkable ease, his movements almost making him seem omnipotent. To him, the Morristine octopod's actions were as if in slow motion. More impressively, he could anticipate its next move. Utilizing the force, Tang Xiao glided back a meter as if by magic, his long sword swinging once more. With a swift flash of the blade, another claw was severed. In his presence, the top predator was as harmless as a puppy. Alia Isabel, trapped in the cage, was utterly captivated by Tang Xiao's display of prowess. Her eyes, wide and filled with wonder, were fixed on him, momentarily forgetting her peril. Every girl harbors a dream of a valiant hero coming to her rescue, and for Alia, who had been raised as a gift since childhood and shielded from the world, this moment was particularly poignant. She watched, mesmerized, as Tang Xiao effortlessly dismantled the fearsome beast, her gaze filled with admiration. In that moment, she had completely forgotten that Tang Xiao, who had stood among the audience earlier, was one of the individuals responsible for her being caged and presented to the beast. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Alia Isabel. The image sourced from the internet, its appropriateness uncertain. Vol 2, Chapter 150. A simple woman. With a muffled thud, the fearsome head of Morriston's 8-legged dragon was severed, soaring through the air before landing with a dull thump in front of the cage. Yet, Alia Isabel exhibited no fear. Her gaze was fixed on Tang Xiao, who approached with determined steps. In his presence, she felt an unshakable sense of security, as if not even a demon from the abyss could instill fear in her. Reaching the cage, Tang Xiao deactivated the energy field, effortlessly sliced through the lock with his sword, and then discarded the now damaged weapon. He extended his hand towards Alia, offering her a lifeline. "You are safe now, miss. However, I must inform you that from this moment forward, you will be considered my personal property." "Private. All property," Alia echoed, her voice tinged with disbelief. The notion that she was now his property, and exclusively his, ignited an array of emotions within her. It was as if a bomb had detonated in her heart, sending waves of warmth cascading across her cheeks and stirring a flutter of excitement in the pit of her stomach. This revelation left her trembling, a sensation she had never experienced before. From her earliest memories, Alia had been under the ownership of Mrs. Bixby, who had raised her with the sole purpose of fetching a high price. Mrs. Bixby ensured Alia received the finest education in etiquette, along with lessons in singing, dancing, vocal music, and even soft gymnastics. Every aspect of her upbringing was designed to make her appealing to potential buyers. This included rigorous academic studies in poetry, literature, and accounting. Her diet and daily schedule were strictly regulated, leaving no room for leisure or indulgence. It seemed her entire existence was predicated on her ability to excel in her training and studies, all to be sold at a premium. When she was handed over to Black Godamask II, despair engulfed her. Her instincts warned her that he would never see her as a human being. Her fears were confirmed when he callously threw her into a cage to be devoured by beasts. But in her darkest hour, Tang Xiao emerged as her savior. He appeared like a deity, slaying the beast, breaking open her prison, and offering her salvation. Above all, Tang Xiao's strikingly handsome features, his robust physique, and his composed demeanor captivated her. Noticing Alia's hesitation, Tang Xiao reached into the cage to help her, only to find her as limp as overcooked noodles. Deciding to take a more direct approach, he lifted her in his arms, wrapping one hand around her slender waist. Given her tall and slender frame, carrying her in such a manner proved awkward, with her feet dragging on the ground. Thus, he opted to hoist Alia over his shoulder, carrying her away from her prison. Alia, for her part, was unconcerned with the manner of her rescue. Resting against Tang Xiao's back, she was enveloped by his warmth and the rhythm of his breath. A surge of heat once again coursed through her, leaving her cheeks flushed and her heart racing. Tang Xiao, meanwhile, was vaguely aware of the heat emanating from Alia, but was more captivated by her natural scent, which prompted him to inhale deeply. Upon returning to the auditorium, Tang Xiao set Alia down on a sofa before joining He Gei and the others. Delai Denworth, unable to contain his amusement, burst into laughter. "Ha ha! Brother Tang Xiao, your feat in slaying Morriston's 8-legged dragon was truly magnificent. If I were a woman, I'd surely fall for you too." Mrs. Pixie nodded in agreement, her long body swaying. "Indeed, I dare say not even 20 fully armed mercenaries could stand against Mr. Xiao." Black Godamask II, with a tone of indifference, added, "Then, as a trophy, this woman is yours." His gaze never lingered on Alia, treating her not as a rare beauty, but as something as mundane as a cabbage. Drydenworth, however, couldn't take his eyes off Alia, utterly mesmerized by her presence. Drydenvoss was immediately captivated by her presence. Drawn to her, he reached out, gently lifting a strand of her soft blonde hair, bringing it close to inhale its scent. The fragrance, pure and natural, not tainted by any artificial perfume, overwhelmed him momentarily. "Ah, you are truly a vision. Brother Tang Xiao, you are indeed fortunate," he exclaimed, the girl's natural scent nearly driving him to distraction. It was clear why Mrs. Pixie, a formidable figure even on the technologically advanced planet of Corellia, felt confident enough to present such a woman in negotiations with King Hago Damask II, who had the backing of the Interstellar Banking Association. As Dryden Voss reached out to caress Arya's cheek, she recoiled like a startled rabbit, seeking refuge behind Tang Xiao. There was an unspoken rule in their circles. One does not simply toy with another's companion without repercussions. Despite his burning desire, Dryden Voss managed to quell his urges, offering a strained smile to Tang Xiao. "Brother, should you ever grow weary of this woman, do let me know. I'd be willing to trade an entire planet's industry for her." "Oh, you might be waiting a long time," Tang Xiao responded coolly, making it clear he wasn't one to relinquish his belongings lightly. At that moment, Blackie's voice cut through the tension, bringing the focus back to the matter at hand. "The reason we're gathered here concerns the planet Maratha," he announced, capturing the attention of Tang Xiao, Mrs. Pixie, and Dryden Voss. Hago continued, outlining the situation. "The conflict between Maratha and the Enterprise Alliance has been simmering for a while. Now is the opportune moment to escalate it." Dryden Voss couldn't help but smirk at the political turmoil. The Speaker of the Galactic Council, Phoenix Valorum, is in a precarious position, isn't he? Rumor has it he's accepted a bribe of 1 million credit points through a trust fund. Quite the scandal. Mrs. Pixie chuckled darkly. "It's not just a scandal, it's a masterstroke by Teacher Haiji, cornering Valorum completely." Tang Xiao remained silent, listening intently as Hago delved deeper into the issue. "The Enterprise Alliance plans to hike the fuel tax on Maratha, a move the planet vehemently opposes. Understandably so, as the increase would mean 30% of their GDP ends up in the Alliance's coffers." Mrs. Pixie interjected, her interest piqued by potential gains. "The specifics of their GDP don't concern me. What I want to know is how much we stand to gain from this situation." The conversation shifted towards the strategic implications of the conflict on Maratha, revealing the complex web of interests and power plays at work behind the scenes. Chapter 151, The Strategy. Black G smiled faintly. "Without a doubt, we will dismantle any resistance on Malastar, and then take over the Malastar fuel group through a facade of acquisition. Once we succeed, the fuel supply of Maratha will be entirely under our control." Dryden Voss burst into laughter. "Maratha is crucial for the Corellian passage. Controlling their fuel supply means we can earn hundreds of millions in credits annually from taxing the merchant fleet. Ha ha ha." However, the DAG people of Malastar won't surrender easily. They'll surely escalate the issue to the Galactic Council. Mrs. Pixie voiced her concerns cautiously. "Mr. Blackg, are you certain Phoenix Valorum won't intervene? If the Republic's judicial fleet gets involved, we might find ourselves in a tight spot." "It's wise to be cautious. Remember last year, when the Bislanka pirates attempted to raid Nile? The judicial fleet was mobilized, and now Tal Biss's grave is a testament to their folly," Dryden Voss remarked. "I warned Biss and his pirates, but they wouldn't listen. Disobedience leads to downfall." His gaze swept across those gathered. "Ha ha! Fear not, Mr. Black J. We will follow your lead without question," Dryden Voss declared confidently. Black G nodded, pleased. "The Galactic Council will debate intervention in Maratha in 3 days, but Phoenix Valorum won't consent. The meeting will merely be a farce. And Valorum will be the clown," Mrs. Pixie added with a sinister chuckle. After 7 standard days, the Enterprise Alliance will start assembling a mercenary fleet on Ugomar, just 5 seconds from Malastar and within the Corellian Passage. The operation will be led by Trench, the finest fleet commander available. I've already forwarded your details to the Enterprise Alliance and Trench, Black Geta Musk II explained methodically. "No issue here. I've readied my forces, totaling 40 spaceships," Mrs. Pixie reported. "I'll bring 60 ships, including 2 Corellian gunships, each 120 meters long." Dryden Voss boasted, "The Outer Ring's impoverished planets will quake before us." Their attention then turned to Tang Xiao, awaiting his commitment. Tang Xiao simply nodded, stating calmly, "I'll gather all the spaceships I can upon my return." "Mr. Tang Xiao, don't disappoint your master," Mrs. Pixie said with a peculiar grin, doubting his capability to contribute significantly. Tang Xiao offered a light smile in response, not engaging further. He respectfully bowed to Higi. "Thank you for your generosity, master. I'm particularly fond of this gift." Black G nodded. "Fond of women, you say? Hey, achieve greatness with us, and you can have all the women you desire. But remember, indulging too much can lead to ruin." "I'll keep my priorities straight, master," Tang Xiao replied, his disdain hidden behind a facade of respect. He thought to himself how hypocritical it was for Black G Damask II to caution him against excesses when he himself had offered Alia Isabel as a means to corrupt him further. Mrs. Pixie and Dryden Worth departed after finalizing the assembly plans. Once they were gone, Black G's demeanor shifted dramatically. No longer the galactic financial magnate, he revealed his true identity as Darth Plagueis, the formidable lord of the dark side. Darth Plagueis observed with a light tone, "You already possess your own lightsaber, which is commendable." He then inquired, "Share your insights on lightsabers." After pondering for a moment, Tang Xiao responded, "The lightsaber's plasma blade can reach temperatures of millions of degrees, capable of destroying nearly any material. Furthermore, since I've fully mastered the Kyber crystal, my affinity with the Force has significantly increased. This allows me to execute various Force techniques with the lightsaber that would be challenging to perform with my bare hands." "Your understanding is accurate, yet incomplete," Plagueis corrected. "Lightsabers are not merely tools, they are extensions of our Force, even of our very selves. Combat between Force users transcends physical prowess and technique. It is a duel of the Force itself. Over the past months, your power has grown immensely, rendering ordinary opponents powerless against you. However, you must learn how to engage with those sensitive to the Force." Humbly, Tang Xiao requested, "Please enlighten me." "The Force permeates all," Darth Plagueis began, lifting his hand. Suddenly, Tang Xiao felt as if the air around him solidified, trapping him in a viscous, suffocating embrace. He struggled to breathe and found himself unable to move even a finger. Plagueis continued, "Against a Force-sensitive adversary who can shield themselves with the Force, you cannot simply overpower them as you would an ordinary person. Even pushing them away will require considerable effort. Therefore, we must adapt and learn to manipulate the space around our opponent with the Force." Struggling against the oppressive Force, Tang Xiao managed to regain slight mobility. He intensified his use of the Force, gradually opposing Darth Plagueis's overwhelming dark energy. "It's not just about the immediate vicinity of your opponent, but the entire battlefield," Plagueis emphasized. With a swift gesture, a flower pot beside him soared through the air, hurtling towards Tang Xiao. Caught off guard, Tang Xiao summoned all his strength to unleash a Force lightning bolt. With a crack and a loud explosion, the flower pot disintegrated upon impact. However, Plagueis's demonstration served as a valuable lesson. Tang Xiao extended his Force perception, reaching for a bench behind Plagueis. "Ah, you're a quick learner," Plagueis remarked with a sneer. Tang Xiao felt an even more formidable Force crash into the bench as he attempted to manipulate it. The bench splintered under the clash of their powers. Yet, Tang Xiao's true intention was not to destroy the bench. Vol 2, Chapter 152, Failed Devotion. As the bench shattered, a black shadow swiftly flew into Tang Xiao's hands from the jacket he had discarded. With a swift motion, the blood-red plasma blade ignited, instantly alleviating the pressure surrounding him. "Very good. It seems your combat intelligence is quite high," Darth Plagueis commended. He continued, "Now that you've acquired the lightsaber, I will teach you how to wield it. The lightsaber will be the core through which you channel your Force." Raising his hand, Plagueis's own lightsaber flew into his grasp and activated with a hiss. The Kyber crystal within has a strong affinity for the Force. Once the lightsaber is activated, it becomes the focal point for the wielder's Force. Mastery of the lightsaber, therefore, becomes crucial. As he demonstrated a series of elegant maneuvers with his lightsaber, Tang Xiao felt an overwhelming attraction emanating from Plagueis's weapon, as if it were drawing in all surrounding Force energy. The oppressive atmosphere that had filled the space seemed to shift, making every movement Tang Xiao attempted feel as though it were being pulled towards Plagueis' lightsaber, threatening to end in his immediate demise. A battle between two force-sensitive individuals is akin to two combatants in the midst of a river. The one who controls the current claims victory, Darth Plagueis explained. I understand, my lord, Tang Xiao responded with genuine gratitude. Moreover, while lightsabers are tangible, the clash between them is also a clash of the Force itself. When two lightsabers meet, it signifies a direct confrontation of Force energies. A moment's hesitation can be fatal, as losing control over the Force would allow your opponent's blade to penetrate your defenses and end your life. Remember, the blade of the lightsaber is more than just physical, Darth Plagueis elaborated. Yes, my lord. Lastly, you must grasp the intricacies of lightsaber combat. The Jedi Order has developed 7 distinct forms of lightsaber techniques, whereas Sith combat styles are more versatile, not confined to specific stances, but enhanced through the use of the Force, Darth Plagueis instructed. Time is of the essence, so I will provide you with a brief overview. Listen carefully. A day later, Tang Xiao was left to return to the luxurious residence arranged for him by Darth Plagueis, who had departed for his secret laboratory in Suochao Lun. Upon entering his quarters, Tang Xiao was greeted by an unexpected sight. Alia Isabel, having been informed of his arrival, lay naked on a black velvet bed adorned with petals, her body strategically positioned to entice. Her golden hair cascaded over her shoulders, barely concealing her form, yet the contours of her figure were unmistakably visible. It was clear she had prepared herself for him, but her intentions were about to be thwarted. With a dismissive gesture, Tang Xiao picked up a damp towel from the floor and tossed it onto Alia's face. You have 10 minutes to get dressed. We're leaving immediately. The Battle of Marathar was looming, and his detour to learn lightsaber combat had cost him a day. With only 3 days left to return to the Endor galaxy and assemble the fleet, Tang Xiao was keen to avoid unnecessary delays, especially within Darth Plagueis' domain of Sojourn, where communication with the Glory Mothership could be compromised. Alia Isabel's fantasies of a romantic encounter were dashed, replaced by the stark reality of their pressing circumstances. Arya had anticipated many reactions from Tang Xiao: romance, passion, and even dominance. Yet, she hadn't expected him to barely lay a finger on her. Observing Tang Xiao hastily packing her scattered clothes, including underwear and long skirts, into her handbag, Arya realized the urgency of their situation. Sensibly, she rose from the bed and began dressing. She didn't shy away from Tang Xiao's gaze as she clothed herself, her movements revealing the delicate skin and slender legs that stretched and curved into perfection for him. Tang Xiao struggled to contain himself, the sight of Arya's near-perfect form tempting him greatly. If not for the pressing matter at hand, he would have surrendered to his desires. The priest-class shuttle lifted off from its concealed platform in the mountains, soaring towards the starry expanse above. Upon reaching the outer space of the Dawn planet in the Endor galaxy, the shuttle emerged from hyperspace. Arya Isabel, driven by curiosity, pressed herself against the porthole. Her eyes widened at the sight of the crescent-shaped Glory Mothership. My God, what is this? Is this a spaceship? She exclaimed. It's the Mothership of the Glory, our flagship, Tang Xiao explained. This is yours? I've never seen such a massive spaceship, not even on the holographic network. Arya's voice trailed off, a mix of awe and fear in her tone. The sheer size of the mothership, now filling the view from the window with its endless metallic expanse, overwhelmed her. She began to question the true extent of Tang Xiao's power. In her mind, not even Mrs. Pixie, the feared gangster of planet Corellia, could possess such a vessel. Tang Xiao's ownership of the mothership suggested he wielded power far beyond what Arya could comprehend, possibly enough to overshadow Mrs. Pixie with ease. Back in the safety of the Endor galaxy, Tang Xiao sensed Arya's fear. He approached her, gently stroking her soft blonde hair, and offered comforting words. Don't be afraid. Just like you, this spaceship belongs to me. Welcome to the USS Glory Mothership. Their shuttle glided into the vast hangar of the mothership. Inside, rows of ghost fighter planes were meticulously arranged, and dozens of frigates, each over 30 meters in length, ascended and descended in a continuous flow. Hundreds of pilots lined up, following their captain's lead in a roll call before boarding their fighters to commence another round of training. The organized chaos of the hangar, alive with the spirit of preparation and discipline, marked the beginning of Arya's journey into a world far beyond her wildest imaginations. Vol 2, Chapter 153, Winds of Coruscant. Alia Isabel stepped off the shuttle, her movements cramped and cautious as she followed Tang Xiao with small, careful steps. Despite her curiosity about her surroundings, she dared not stray too far, fearing she might inadvertently provoke someone she shouldn't. Dressed in a luxurious gown, purchased at a high price from the commercial center of planet Corellia, a dress worth tens of thousands of credit points, equivalent to the price of a fighter jet, she still felt out of place, like a country bumpkin visiting the city for the first time. Tang Xiao sent a message to Daphne Clement, requesting she send a female assistant to escort Alia to her bedroom, while he proceeded to his office alone. The task of assembling the fleet had already been completed by Qi Jian, but Tang Xiao had other pressing matters to attend to. Upon connecting the communication, Francis Underwood's holographic projection appeared. Tang Xiao inquired, "The situation on the planet Malestar may escalate. Have you heard any news from Coruscant?" Francis smiled and replied, "Coruscant is always bustling with activity, manager. The recent turmoil centers around the dispute between the planet Maratha and the Enterprise Alliance. However, to fully grasp the situation, one must consider the broader context." Tang Xiao gestured for him to continue. "The root of the Galactic Republic's current predicament lies in a financial crisis," Francis explained with a sneer. "Despite the absence of major disasters or large-scale wars, the treasury of the Galactic Republic is dwindling." Tang Xiao frowned. "Corruption?" "Exactly. The corruption stems from the unchecked expansion of the oligarchs from major trust companies. Nearly every industry has seen the emergence of monopoly trusts. For instance, the Trade Alliance dominates the intergalactic transportation industry, the Interstellar Banking Association controls the financial sector, and the manufacturing and processing industries are under the sway of the Enterprise Alliance. To maintain their monopolies, these trust companies resort to bribing officials of the Galactic Republic, to the extent that one cannot survive in Coruscant's political scene without accepting bribes, Francis detailed. As a result, the decrees of the Galactic Republic have become ineffective, Tang Xiao concluded, shaking his head. Indeed, the Galactic Republic is now financially strapped. Its massive bureaucracy and inefficient administration are plagued with redundancies. If you were to ask Rosanna Goods, she'd tell you about the numerous hurdles she faced, even with connections, in registering the Fourth Group Company and obtaining the colonization development license for Dawn Planet, Francis said. Tang Xiao nodded. So, the heart of the conflict lies in the Galactic Republic's lack of a strong central authority and its inability to be sustained by a large-scale regular army, making it vulnerable to exploitation by large corporations. Correct. And here lies the crux of the issue. Many recognize the problems facing the Galactic Republic, hence the ongoing calls for the establishment of a powerful regime. When you first mentioned the Galactic Council's political landscape, I thought Schiff Palpatine had the strongest influence, given his future presidency. However, I now believe otherwise, Francis shared. So, it's not him? Tang Xiao asked, puzzled. No, the most influential figure is the representative from the planet Rylos, the Twi'lek Orn Frita. He is also the most vocal critic of the current speaker, Finis Valorum. Meanwhile, Palpatine has been cautiously operating from the shadows, outwardly supporting Finis Valorum while crafting an image of himself as someone with noble ideals, yet still loyal to the current speaker. It's clear that the political dynamics are more complex than they appear, Francis explained. Francis regarded him as a comrade, while Chancellor Valorum viewed him as his indispensable right-hand man. How did he manage that? Someone asked, intrigued. It was a lengthy process, Francis replied, waving a book in his hand. Schiff Palpatine has authored numerous books on politics and power, some of which have even been adopted as textbooks in colleges and universities. Moreover, whenever Speaker Valorum faced a particularly challenging situation, Palpatine was always the one to step in and resolve the issue, and he managed to find a solution that seemed satisfactory every time. However, a truly satisfactory solution is unlikely. Knowing Palpatine, his approach probably involves addressing the symptoms without tackling the root causes. On the surface, it appears the problem is resolved, but in reality, it leaves behind a ticking time bomb, with Palpatine holding the detonator, someone countered. If you don't mention it, no one would be the wiser. Francis shook his head, signaling a return to the main topic. Currently, Phoenix Valorum is embroiled in a bribery scandal. He's accused of accepting over 1 million credit points in bribes through a trust fund, a discovery made by Orn Frita. After a relatively straightforward investigation, the trail led to the Nebula Front, an illicit organization. The Nebula Front is secretly led by Schiff Palpatine, though their connection remains unknown to most, Tang Xiao interjected with a sneer. Regardless, accepting bribes from an illegal organization is a severe blow to the reputation of the Speaker of the Galactic Parliament. MP Orn Frita has initiated 2 impeachment attempts, but with Palpatine's assistance, Speaker Valorum has managed to survive both. What happened next? Then, Phoenix Valorum initiated his plan. From the moment he assumed office, he aimed to increase the Galactic Republic's revenue by imposing taxes on the Outer Rim star regions, a strategy designed to secure votes. However, the difficulty of this task was apparent to anyone paying attention. Thus, when Valorum was about to act, corporate leaders who had been forewarned started to make their move. Is that the reason behind the Enterprise Alliance's sudden decision to raise the fuel tax on Marathar? Exactly. The Enterprise Alliance is using this as a way to send a message to Speaker Valorum. You want to impose taxes? Fine, we will too. Let's see who holds more sway in the Outer Rim sectors. So, they're unwilling to compromise on this issue and are using the planet Malastar to corner Speaker Valorum? Francis revealed a sly smile. But here's where it gets interesting. Just last year, the planet Nylor was under siege by the Bislanka pirates, and the Galactic Republic dispatched the Judicial Fleet to eradicate the threat, a mission led by none other than Schiff Palpatine. Vol 2, Chapter 154, Adjusting the Strategy. Tang Xiao stroked his chin, deep in thought. Could the Judicial Fleet's campaign last year to encircle and suppress the pirates still influence the current dispute on planet Alastar? He mused. Francis Underwood responded, the most adept at leveraging such situations is Schiff Palpatine. He excels at orchestrating events in a way that his ostensibly benevolent actions yield the opposite effect, yet he still garners widespread acclaim. Indeed, he's a maestro who has manipulated the political stage of the entire galaxy. Tang Xiao sighed. To be candid, he believed that among the legendary figures of their time, Francis Underwood played the most crucial role. Without this seasoned political strategist's assistance, Palpatine might have outmaneuvered him effortlessly. For this, he was profoundly grateful. Similarly, he had his own measures to maintain a balance with Francis, such as awakening Niyong Xiao and Helmut Zemo for checks and balances, and deploying Super Lotus to keep an eye on Francis. With such a formidable hacker at his disposal, nothing Francis did could elude his surveillance. Initially, Finis Valorum was against the Judicial Fleet's operation to encircle the Bislanka pirates last year. However, Palpatine managed to sway him, purportedly because Master Dooku of the Jedi Order personally intervened. Thus, it wasn't so much about Valorum aiding the outer planets in eradicating piracy as it was about him acceding to the Jedi Order, Francis explained. If I'm not mistaken, Palpatine was playing both sides. Master Dooku would believe Valorum was appeasing Palpatine, and Valorum would think the same, Tang Xiao remarked with a sneer. The intricacies of their interactions remain obscure, but the outcome was disastrous. The Judicial Fleet's operation was highly publicized, leading to a leak of information. The cornered Bislanka pirates launched a surprise attack, resulting in the loss of 3 cruisers and nearly 5,000 soldiers. Although the Judicial Fleet eventually overpowered the pirates with superior firepower, the battle has since been regarded as a scandal, Francis recounted. Tang Xiao recalled his time on the planet Sojourn, where Black Godamask II hinted at a familiarity with the Bislanka pirates and their leader, Tar Bis. This raised doubts about the attack being solely due to leaked information, especially since the pirates wouldn't have known the fleet's hyperspace jump coordinates to stage a surprise attack. As a consequence, the pirate siege operation, including the loss of cruisers, compensation for the fallen soldiers, and other related expenses, amounted to a loss exceeding 50 million credit points. The insurance companies under the Interstellar Banking Association refused to cover these costs. Without their support, the Galactic Republic's treasury was strained, to the point where even compensations for the fallen soldiers were delayed, sparking protests last year, Francis continued. Tang Xiao finally understood. So, this incident has eroded Phoenix Valoran's trust in the judicial fleet. In the dispute over planet Mallastar, Valorum finds himself in a precarious position. Most critically, Valorum attributes the failure to the judicial fleet, not Palpatine, who instigated the operation. The same sentiment prevails in the Parliament. The judicial fleet is blamed, while Palpatine, who championed the anti-piracy campaign, is hailed as a hero. Francis nodded in agreement. Exactly. Palpatine's every move is calculated, and he remains indifferent to the outcomes. Once he makes a move, he's already won. Frankly, I'm no match for him. However, with your foresight and our strategic adjustments, we might just have a chance. In the future, perhaps there still lies a glimmer of hope. Tang Xiao felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Among all the universes of film, television, and games he had encountered, the cunning, foresight, and wisdom of Sheev Palpatine, a premier politician and conspirator within the Star Wars universe, were unparalleled. Just a glimpse into Palpatine's mind was enough to overwhelm him. And now, Tang Xiao realized that this formidable figure was to be his most direct adversary in the times to come. Observing Tang Xiao's troubled expression, Francis offered a slight smile. He adjusted his suit, fastening the penultimate button, and shared. However, there is indeed a silver lining. Senator Palpatine has invited me to represent Dawn Planet at the upcoming Galactic Council meeting. He believes that our initiative with the Mutual Aid Fund for the galaxy's outer ring grants us a certain influence over the outer ring planets. Given your insight into the future, I believe you understand what needs to be done. I will certainly play my part, Tang Xiao affirmed with a nod. Excellent. The meeting is in 4 hours. It's time for us to stand with the giants, Francis remarked, his words carrying a double meaning. He smiled, then ended the communication. Tang Xiao leaned back on the sofa, massaging his temples. Soon after, another call came through. The projection displayed Volgograd Kennedy, clad in heavy body armor. Manager, what are your orders? How did the battle on Tatooine fare? Tang Xiao inquired. Over the past 2 or 3 months, we've dismantled 13 smuggling fleets and destroyed 29 spaceships. It seems our black ship has become quite feared among the bounty hunters in the vicinity, Kennedy reported, though his tone was somber. That should be cause for celebration, shouldn't it? Tang Xiao asked, puzzled. No, I never imagined people would fear me. You should have seen the look on the smugglers' faces when I confronted them yesterday, Kennedy lamented, his voice filled with sorrow. Isn't it better for others to fear you than for you to fear them? Tang Xiao replied, trying to alleviate his headache. I was once just a mining ship pipe producer. Kennedy mumbled. But you've also piloted a cruiser, haven't you? Tang Xiao reminded him. That was during my time at the military academy, Kennedy conceded. All right, let's change the subject. How's Santa Claus? Tang Xiao asked, shifting the conversation. The codename Santa Claus had become the secret signal for Yuri Orlov and his team to smuggle weapons. Super Lotus contacted me earlier. She managed to compromise the network near Tatooine with a Trojan horse implanted by Yvonne Mon. Now, we have most of the bounty hunters around Tatooine under our control. Santa Claus can easily deliver supplies to Tatooine, Kennedy reported, a hint of pride in his voice. Well done. In that case, you can return to the Endor system. I have another task for you, Tang Xiao said. Does this mean I no longer have to act as a pirate? Kennedy's eyes sparkled with hope. Yes, you can return to the Endor galaxy. Take a 2-day rest upon your return. We're setting off for the planet Mallastar soon, Tang Xiao explained. Mallastar? I've heard about it. The bounty hunters have been buzzing about it lately. I heard they're having issues with the corporate alliance, Kennedy noted. Exactly. And no, you won't be playing the role of a pirate this time. You can rest assured, Tang Xiao reassured him. Fantastic! I've been longing for this day. I'll be right back, Kennedy exclaimed, his spirits lifted. Vol 2, Chapter 155, Assemble the Fleet. Tang Xiao reached out to Ni Yongxiao to inquire about the current situation with the Black Sun organization. Ni Yongxiao reported that despite their efforts to track and eliminate several of Black Sun's strongholds, the organization's extensive network made it challenging to deliver a decisive blow. He mentioned that one of the Black Sun Vigos, Cash Galulin, seemed to be shifting his focus towards the Endor galaxy, possibly overseeing some operations related to the Fourth Civilization. Tang Xiao, puzzled by the Black Sun's tactics, which deviated from their usual harassment strategies, sought Ni Yongxiao's insight. Ni Yongxiao, adjusting his glasses, suggested that Black Sun might be orchestrating a more significant scheme, aiming to keep their adversaries complacent. A smirk formed on Tang Xiao's lips as he pieced together the enemy's likely plan. He deduced that an alliance between Black Sun, Ghidorah the Hutt, and Ars Varuna, the king of Naboo, was preparing to assassinate Black Go Damask II. Such a move, if successful, would cause Black Go's forces to crumble, allowing the alliance to seize territories aggressively. Given the strategic importance of the Endor galaxy, it was a prime target for their expansion. Ni Yongxiao, acknowledging Tang Xiao's analysis, expressed his readiness to observe the unfolding events. Tang Xiao then revealed plans for a large-scale fleet battle on the planet Malastar, inviting Ni Yongxiao to join as mercenaries representing the Fourth Civilization. He urged Ni Yongxiao to return to the Endor system promptly, emphasizing the invaluable experience and the need for Ni Yongxiao to transition from a gangster boss to a legitimate interstellar leader. Ni Yongxiao agreed to return immediately, recognizing the opportunity for growth. After ending the communication, Tang Xiao was about to contact Helmut Zemo when the doorbell rang. To his surprise, Baron Zemo entered, wearing black-rimmed glasses and sporting a timid yet meaningful smile. Baron Zemo inquired about the fleet assembly, having heard rumors of their involvement in an impending conflict on Maratha. Tang Xiao confirmed their mercenary role, mentioning the critical timing for their participation. Curious about Zemo's recent activities, Tang Xiao learned that Zemo had been on Tatooine, a notoriously dangerous location, to ensure Ghidorah's survival for strategic reasons. Zemo hinted at having taken actions related to the upcoming battle on Maratha, but remained cryptic about the details. As they discussed their strategy, Tang Xiao outlined their objectives: to provide their fleet with real combat experience, curry favor with new allies, and strengthen their relationships within the fleet command. Their conversation revealed a layered strategy, blending direct engagement with broader tactical goals, setting the stage for a complex and potentially transformative conflict. Baron Zemo placed a note on the table with a hint of mystery and slid it across. Tang Xiao's brow furrowed as he read the note, but after a moment, his expression eased. He tapped the table thoughtfully and said, "It would be best if Professor Chi personally oversees the engineering department. I have no doubt that Professor Chi will handle it flawlessly," Baron Zemo replied with a smile. "Ah, and Professor Chi mentioned he has several questions for you. If you have time, it would be wise to consult with him. I won't take up more of his time. Also, I'm quite eager to visit the planet Maratha this time." Tang Xiao nodded in agreement. After Baron Zemo departed, Tang Xiao relayed the message to Shewan as usual, then made his way to the hangar platform to board a shuttle bound for the Engineering Science Department's space station. As the Fourth Civilization's operations expanded, it became impractical to continue the direct, personal approach that had been used in the past. For instance, Daphne Clemente, who once primarily worked on the bridge of the Glory Mothership, could no longer be Tang Xiao's go-to contact for every matter, especially now that the administration department had grown to over 200 people. However, Tang Xiao still made the effort to visit the Scientific Research Space Station in person, as he often found that such visits yielded unexpected and pleasant surprises. This time, having spent over 2 months on the planet Sojourn to obtain his own Kyber crystal and train in the Force, Tang Xiao wondered what surprises Professor Qi Jianjun might have in store for him. The Glory Mothership was currently stationed near the planet Dole, assisting with the construction of a mining space station. Thus, it took nearly an hour for the shuttle to travel from the mothership to the space station orbiting the Dawn planet. Upon arriving at the space station's hangar platform, Tang Xiao was greeted by Qi Shuiwen and several staff members. Qi Shuiwen appeared somewhat uneasy. The news of Tang Xiao returning with an extraordinarily beautiful woman had spread quickly, leading many to speculate about her relationship with Tang Xiao. This revelation stirred complex emotions in Qi Shuiwen, who harbored unrequited feelings for Tang Xiao and now faced an awkward situation. Taking a deep breath to compose himself, Qi Shuiwen managed a professional smile and greeted Tang Xiao. "Manager, welcome back. We've recently completed a new type of frigate, and Professor Qi is eager to brief you on the details." Vol 2, Chapter 156, The Army's Needs. A new type of frigate? I heard it's called the Pulsar Star light gunship. Our fleet could really use a ship with long-range heavy firepower, Tang Xiao remarked. Is progress really moving that quickly? Qi Shuiwen responded, "In truth, considering it's based on the research of the Kushan civilization, the development speed is quite impressive. Our technological foundation stems from there. However, the focus has been on smaller spacecraft, taking into account the issue of size. This is something Mr. Qi has been adamant about. Given our population size, we can't afford to construct a battleship only to have it accommodate our entire navy." "I agree. It's wise not to rush into showcasing our capabilities." Tang Xiao nodded in agreement. This time, Kewin didn't give Tang Xiao the usual tour. Instead, he headed straight for the spaceport of the Institute and left hastily, as if trying to escape something. As Tang Xiao anticipated, a surprise awaited him at the Scientific Research Space Station. A light frigate was docked in the built-in dock, its outer armor removed to expose the intricate wiring and electronic components beneath. The design of this frigate was sleeker than the Hammer-class frigate, lacking the bulky and cumbersome appearance, and instead exuding an aesthetic of elegance. Most notable was the large turret mounted on the hull, featuring a square barrel in a dual arrangement, complemented by a compact fire control and sighting system on the opposite side. At first glance, the frigate resembled an oversized infantry fighting vehicle. Professor Qi Jianjun and a team of technicians were present beside the spaceship, along with a tall, robust middle-aged man of Eastern descent who towered over Tang Xiao, his muscles nearly bursting through his military uniform. He was followed by 4 or 5 men in military attire. Unlike the Navy's dark blue uniforms, these individuals wore dark green, signifying their affiliation with the Army. Upon noticing Tang Xiao's arrival, Qi Jianjun loudly directed, Hey, the manager is here. You can go talk to him. Stop bothering me." The muscular man charged towards Tang Xiao like a tank, booming, "Manager, I've missed you so much." Tang Xiao felt a bead of cold sweat form on his forehead, bracing himself to use force to keep the man at bay. However, the muscular man stopped just in front of him, snapped to attention, and saluted. "Manager, Army Commander Xiao Guanghua reporting for duty." Xiao Guanghua, hand-picked by Tang Xiao to lead the Fourth Civilization Army, now served as its commander-in-chief. At the time of his selection, Tang Xiao had limited options, but found Xiao Guanghua's reliability appealing. His resume detailed a rise from the ranks, achieving the position of a regiment-level commander through distinguished military service. Tang Xiao admired his steadfastness. Yet, despite the grand title of Army Commander-in-Chief, the Fourth Civilization Army had grown from an initial 500 to 1,200 personnel, with only a few jeeps and no heavy vehicles. Their duties extended beyond training to include eradicating large, dangerous animals threatening the town and occasional pirate missions. To avoid raising suspicions, Tang Xiao had dispatched all the gnolls on these missions, likely leaving Xiao Guanghua restless for action. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Tang Xiao addressed him. "Still dreaming of pirate adventures?" "Unfortunately, there's no such assignment available at the moment. Ni Yongxiao's campaign against the Black Sun hasn't progressed significantly, so there's no role for you or your men just yet." "The brothers under my commands are clear and precise," Xiao Guanghua stated. "Manager, my visit to Professor Qi primarily concerns a different matter." He continued, "You see, our Navy's warships have been evolving, with new models being introduced one after another. Yet, here I am, still equipped with an outdated Type 21 assault rifle. It's becoming increasingly difficult to take down some of the larger Predato, Aris on Dawn Planet. The resilience of some creatures there is beyond comprehension. Their evolutionary path is a mystery. As he spoke, Xiao Guanghua habitually flexed his muscles, resembling a bodybuilder, which left Tang Xiao momentarily at a loss for words. If you're referring to upgrading equipment, I believe that's already in the works, isn't it? Tang Xiao glanced at Qi Jianjun for confirmation. The M8 Avenger assault rifle has been developed and is starting to be distributed. The primary reason for this upgrade is the need for a universal tool within the same system, which led to the development of the M8, Qi Jianjun explained, visibly intimidated by Xiao Guanghua's imposing physique, taking a step back as he spoke. Ah, so our military's needs are just an afterthought, Xiao Guanghua exclaimed, flexing his biceps. I understand that the Navy is currently the priority, but the Army has its requirements too. I've been making do with these light weapons, and if necessary, we can't even deploy the tanks. I believe the Nidage 21 Pathfinder-class light attack vehicle and the Longsword surface-to-air missile could also be made available to the Army. Rest assured, whether it's the battle against the Black Sun or operations on Tatooine, the Army's needs will be met. Your equipment will be updated in due course, Tang Xiao reassured him, patting Xiao Guanghua on the shoulder. It's a deal, Xiao Guanghua declared enthusiastically. The M8 series of assault rifles will also include sniper rifles and shotguns, which will soon enter production, Qi Jianjun added, peeking out from behind a technician. After Xiao Guanghua departed, Tang Xiao turned his attention to the frigate before them. The Pulsar Light Frigate? What do you think? Is it ready for mass production? Mass production is feasible, but I must emphasize that this frigate isn't designed for solo combat. It's equipped with a miniature shortwave ion cannon, firing at a rate of 0.4 seconds per shot with a 1.12 second cooldown. It can inflict significant damage on shields and light armor, with a maximum range of 55 kilometers. Ideally, it should be positioned in the middle or rear of our battleship formation, Qi Jianjun explained. A turret of this size is considered tiny? Tang Xiao questioned, pointing to the massive gunhole nearly 20 meters in length and over 3 meters in thickness. Given the principles behind this shortwave ion cannon, it is indeed considered miniature. According to the technology archives of the Kushan civilization, once the technology was perfected, this ion cannon became the primary armament on battleships, Qi Jianjun clarified. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Pulsar Gunship. From Homeland 2, the Herog Camp. Attachment 2 of the Easter egg chapter, M8 Avenger Assault Rifle, from the Mass Effect series. Vol 2, Chapter 157, Assemble the Fleet, Part 1. The boat carries big guns, and that's precisely why I'm fond of it, haha. Tang Xiao exclaimed, his eyes gleaming as he gazed at the massive plasma cannon barrel, stretching over 20 meters in length. The allure of a giant ship cannon was undeniable, a dream for many. Since constructing a giant ship isn't feasible at the moment, having a formidable cannon will suffice, he mused. This vessel was initially classified as a gunboat in the database. However, according to the classification standards of our Fourth Civilization Navy, this 42-meter Pulsar Star gunboat falls under the category of light frigates. Hence, it has been rechristened as the Pulsar Star Light Frigate, explained Qi Jianjun. Oh, that's fantastic. Is there a chance for a trial flight? Tang Xiao asked, barely containing his excitement. The trial voyage has recently concluded. A comprehensive inspection is currently underway, Qi Jianjun replied, effectively dampening Tang Xiao's enthusiasm. It will approximately take a month for this type of frigate to be mass-produced. The delay mainly stems from our need to refine the shortwave ion cannon technology, which is crucial for the development of larger naval guns. All right, you're the boss, Tang Xiao conceded, albeit with a hint of disappointment. Have there been any other significant advancements in the past 2 months? Yes, antimatter, Professor Qi Jianjun responded, adjusting his glasses as he reviewed the data once more. Tang Xiao's interest was immediately piqued. We've ventured into antimatter energy research? Indeed. The technology from the Emergency Traders Alliance heavily relies on antimatter energy. However, their antimatter technology is still in its infancy and lacks sustainability. As a result, spacecraft primarily utilize cold nuclear fusion as their conventional energy source. Nonetheless, They are equipped with antimatter energy for instances where a sudden surge of power is necessary, Qi Jianjun elaborated. He then tempered Tang Xiao's excitement with a dose of reality. However, it's crucial to understand that our primary energy source remains the standard nuclear fusion reactors. Cold fusion technology is still under rigorous testing and mastering. It will take at least a year. Transitioning from research to practical application of antimatter energy will span at least 5 years. This is a long-term endeavor that demands a dedicated team and extensive experimental facilities. So long? Tang Xiao frowned, contemplating the timeline from research to application of this technology in relation to the impending war. Manager, it's important to shed the misconception that scientific breakthroughs happen overnight. Scientific research is a marathon, not a sprint. Consider how long humanity took to progress from controlled nuclear fission to controlled nuclear fusion, 70 years. Or the development span between the 5th and 6th generations of fighter jets, 20 years. The exploration of fundamental sciences and technologies, especially in the field of energy, often spans generations, Qi Jianjun advised. Tang Xiao nodded, approaching the Pulsar Star light frigate. He ran his hand along the massive hull, feeling its cold surface, and then reflected. Our perspective needs to shift, Mr. Qi. From the moment we awakened in this universe, our destiny was to forge an unconventional path. The vast technology library at our disposal is the staircase that propels us directly to the pinnacle. He turned sharply, locking eyes with Qi Jianjun, causing the older man to take a step back. Our real challenge may only emerge once we reach that peak, Tang Xiao declared. Qi Jianjun nodded solemnly, sighed, and then softly added, but don't underestimate the need for experimental equipment, facilities, and personnel. Let's leave those worries to Clement, haha, Tang Xiao said with an awkward smile. If we could utilize the universal tool on a larger scale, it would significantly accelerate our research and construction effort. RTS, Qi Jianjun suggested. The following day, the small fleet led by Tang Xiao returned to the Endor galaxy. Soon after, the black ship commanded by Kennedy made its appearance. Tang Xiao had just returned, and with him, the might of the Fourth Civilization's fleet had assembled in full force. After ensuring Tang Xiao and Kennedy were sent to Dawn Planet for some well-deserved rest, Tang Xiao convened with the Supreme Combat Command to strategize for the upcoming battle at Marathar. Qi Jian, without delay, activated a vast holographic projection in the heart of the conference room, showcasing an impressive array of spaceships, both large and small, arranged in a formidable display. Manager, we've gathered all the spaceships available for deployment, Qi Jian announced. The fleet comprised one Hammerhead-class cruiser, the 315-meter-long T-Fang, 6 Revenge-class light destroyers, each measuring 112 meters, 5 Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigates at 78 meters each, and 60 Hammer-class corvettes stretching 32 meters long. Additionally, there were 20 APOD-33 transport aircraft, each 44 meters in length. Tang Xiao, pointing to the sleek, hook-shaped frigate, expressed his surprise. 5 Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigates have already been constructed? That was quick. If I recall correctly, the production plan I approved aimed for 20 units over 6 months, right? The Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigate, a pinnacle of technology from the Traders' Emergency Alliance in the original Sin of the Sun Empire game, was renowned as the most advanced frigate available. Despite its seemingly modest size in the game, its actual length of 78 meters was astonishing, nearly qualifying it as a light destroyer. With a crew of 75, these frigates boasted a significant manpower advantage over the smaller crewed ships from the Homeland technology tree, enabling a more effective response to emergencies. Equipped with only 2 laser cannons, the Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigate's firepower was considered moderate. However, its robust defensive capabilities and agility made it an exceptional vessel for line combat, a brutal head-on confrontation where opposing fleets align and exchange fire. This traditional form of space warfare, often resulting in severe damage and casualties, was the norm unless a fleet possessed overwhelmingly superior ships capable of breaking through enemy lines. Tang Xiao, who had been summoned away by Darth Plagueis at the inception of the frigate's production, was astounded to return 2 months later to find 5 completed ships. The Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigate has been deemed the most suitable for our current needs. Thus, we dedicated all available frigate docks to their construction, resulting in these 5 ships, Qijian explained, addressing Tang Xiao's surprise. P.S. For clarity, the depiction of space combat distances in this narrative draws inspiration from EV rather than the often ambiguous ranges found in Star Wars. The concept of a laser strike from hundreds of thousands of kilometers away is intentionally avoided to maintain a semblance of realism. Vol. 2, Chapter 158, Assemble the Fleet, Part 2. Qijian added, the Fourth Civilization's Navy now boasts 3,000 personnel, with an additional 5,000 in reserve. After completing their training, they can be deployed to the battlefield at a moment's notice. Manager, what is our objective this time? Tang Xiao nodded in acknowledgement but remained silent. His gaze was fixed on the holographic projections of the battleships before him, and he took a deep breath. Among these vessels, the Hammerhead-class cruisers were designed to accommodate 300 crew members and could transport up to 400 Marines. The Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigate had a capacity for 75 individuals. The Revenge-class light destroyer could carry 40, and the Hammer-class light frigate required only a crew of 3. Despite the extensive efforts of the Fourth Civilization, the total personnel count of their navy was less than what would be found on a single Galactic Republic battleship, let alone a heavy cruiser. Tang Xiao sighed, acknowledging that such growth could not be rushed. He projected that in 5 to 10 years, the Fourth Civilization would experience its first demographic surge, primarily due to the maturation of currently cultivated frozen embryos. This upcoming war was one they could not afford to lose. Therefore, the current conflict on the planet Malastar presented a unique opportunity to train their forces. This time, we are heading to the planet Malastar to serve as a mercenary army, Tang Xiao finally spoke. I will not disclose the identity of our enemy just yet. Additionally, we will be following the commands of a mercenary leader. Qijian, puzzled, inquired, Manager, must we really follow the orders of an outsider? Yes, because as mercenaries, it's only natural to fulfill the tasks we're paid for. However, there's no need for concern. I am acquainted with this commander, and he ranks among the top fleet commanders I know, Tang Xiao reassured him. This time, we're deploying our entire fleet. Every spaceship, without exception, will be mobilized. All out? Qijian was taken aback. Yes, and I will join the fleet, but only to oversee the battle firsthand. Egor Zavalov, you are appointed as the Commander-in-Chief of the Fourth Civilization Navy and will lead the fleet, Tang Xiao declared, addressing the bearded man beside him. Yes, sir. The bearded commander, a man of few words, stood at attention and saluted. Carls Wharton, you will serve as the deputy commander, assisting Zavalov in his duties, Tang Xiao continued. Yes, sir. Volgograd Kennedy, your Hammerhead-class cruiser, the Iron Fang, will operate independently from our fleet, Tang Xiao instructed. Manager. Tang Xiao then turned to Qijian and said, Qijian, I understand your eagerness to join the battle, but the Mothership glory requires your leadership. Qijian, visibly concerned, replied, Manager, personally, I have no objections. However, deploying all our spaceships seems excessive. The Endor Galaxy is our stronghold, and we should retain some large warships for its defense. This fleet will only carry about 40 ghost fighters, leaving 60 available on the Glory Mothership for defense, Tang Xiao explained. But even ghost fighters need the support of large warships for effective operations. Are you suggesting the Glory Mothership confront enemy warships alone? Remember, it houses over 500,000 hibernating residents and countless frozen embryos. Qijian argued, I have made other arrangements for this. Your task is to organize the defense of the Glory Mothership. When the time is right, I will share the battle plan with you. Our decision to attack with the entire army is final. It is an order, Tang Xiao stated firmly. Yes, sir. Qijian reluctantly accepted the directive. Manager, could it be that this time, Volgograd Kennedy began, but the weight of the impending mission was already palpable among the assembled fleet. Upon realizing something was amiss, Kennedy quickly questioned Tang Xiao, who had just finished speaking. Yes, we're become mercenaries and preparing for war. Going to war. Kennedy's legs gave way, and he nearly collapsed to the ground. But, manager, didn't you promise? Tang Xiao shot him a glance. Indeed, we're not turning into pirates this time. Our fleet is launching a full-scale attack. This is even worse than piracy, Kennedy lamented, on the verge of tears. Don't worry, we will undoubtedly emerge victorious in this battle, Tang Xiao declared with unwavering confidence. The fleet comprised a total of 72 ships, including 1 Hammerhead-class cruiser, 6 Vengeance-class corvettes, 5 Cobalt-class heavy frigates, and 60 Hammer-class corvettes. The Hammerhead-class cruiser was equipped to carry 18 Ghost Fighters, while each Vengeance-class light destroyer could carry 4 Ghost Fighters, totaling 42 Ghost Fighters. This formidable assembly represented the full might the Fourth Civilization could muster for their expedition. As the ships aligned in precise formations outside the hangar of the Glory's mothership, they presented a majestic sight. Although this fleet paled in comparison to the regular armies, it's important to note that the only formal fleets in the galaxy were those of the Galactic Republic's Judicial Fleet and the Hutt's fleet. Other independent planetary fleets and various factions rarely achieved such scale. Since the Rusan reform, the Galactic Republic had significantly scaled back its domestic forces. However, this reduction did not imply a passive stance towards the expansion of organizations and companies. In fact, the Galactic Republic strictly prohibited all entities from maintaining large-scale fleets, ready to impose severe penalties upon discovery of such activities. With only a few companies in the galaxy capable of constructing large warships, Quarter Power Dock and Lundilli Interstellar Engineering stood out as the largest shipbuilders, though they exclusively accepted official orders. While Corellia Engineering Company offered a broad range of services, they did not venture into large warship construction, even if capable. The Interstellar Banking Association was the sole exception, given its critical role as the economic backbone and treasury of the galaxy. It was authorized to possess large warships, specifically the Generosity-class communication frigates. Nevertheless, the Galactic Republic imposed restrictions on their deployment, limiting no more than 5 of these vessels in the same sector simultaneously. In an era where the galaxy had yet to fully arm itself for war, a fleet of 72 spaceships might seem modest, yet it wielded true power. Let's assemble the fleet and prepare to depart, Tang Xiao commanded from the bridge of the Glory's mothership, signaling the start of their mission with a decisive wave of his hand. Vol 2, Chapter 159, PY Transaction. As the fleet of the Fourth Civilization embarked on its journey, Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic, was on the verge of hosting a meeting of monumental importance. This meeting was so critical that it could potentially signal the end of the Republic itself. The Galactic Parliament building, a marvel of architecture, stood at the heart of Coruscant. Resembling a colossal mushroom, it featured a vast circular dome spanning 2 kilometers in diameter and soaring over a kilometer high. Constructed to endure planetary assaults, the building's destruction would imply the annihilation of Coruscant itself. Despite the astronomical value of land in Coruscant, where the phrase, "an inch of land and an inch of gold," fell short of capturing its worth, a sprawling square of 1 million square meters surrounded the Parliament building. This vast expanse was relatively uncluttered, save for a few annexes and several parks named after ideals like equality and justice. Within these parks stood hundreds of statues commemorating the founders of the inner circle planets of the Galactic Republic. Ironically, despite the Republic's claims of fairness and justice, the less affluent and developed planets of the middle and outer rings were conspicuously absent from this homage. Inside the Parliament building, on the 12th floor, was the Planetary Representative Office. Francis Underwood, after making final adjustments to his suit and sharing a smile with Claire Underwood beside him, rang the doorbell of the office before them. The door opened quietly to reveal Senator Schiff Palpatine, dressed in a traditional Chinese suit, who greeted them with warmth. "Oh, I've been eagerly awaiting your arrival since this morning, Mr. Francis, Miss Claire." "I'm honored by your enthusiasm, Senator Palpatine," Francis replied graciously. Palpatine laughed heartily. "You flatter me, Mr. Francis. Please, come in and make yourselves comfortable." He gestured towards the sofa, ensuring Francis was seated before taking a seat himself. Advocating for the impoverished outer ring planets of the Milky Way is a noble cause. In comparison, my efforts seem modest. Francis responded smoothly. We all rely on each other. Being from an outer ring planet ourselves, we understand the importance of lending a helping hand where we can. It's always better to have more friends, isn't it? Palpatine nodded, shifting the conversation. I've long wished to assist you, but unfortunately, the Galaxy Council's rejection of the Dawn Planet's proposal was a setback. I feel responsible and have tried to make amends. For instance, when the trade union sought to target Mrs. Underwood, I intervened to prevent any further action. I hope that was of some assistance. Francis smiled appreciatively. We were wondering why the trade union suddenly backed off. It seems we have you to thank, Senator. Your support has been invaluable. Palpatine's tone took on a sharper edge, revealing his extensive intelligence network. Miss Claire's fame has spread throughout the Outer Ring, benefiting Dawn Planet and leading to mutual aid contracts with several planets. I admire your efforts. I've heard about your work with the Semirs in developing new fighter jets. Francis maintained his composure. We're merely war refugees who've lost everything, fortunate enough to have some industrial capacity thanks to the production lines on our colonial spaceships. Our goal is to create useful items in exchange for the essentials we need to survive. Palpatine nodded in understanding. The trade union has learned a valuable lesson from their previous misstep. They've approached me, hoping to offer some form of compensation. With a gesture of openness, Palpatine left the decision to Francis, revealing that the person responsible for the recent assassination attempt was Rune Hako, the secretary of the trade union regional director. How you choose to deal with this betrayal is entirely up to you, he stated. Francis, initially responding with a rhetorical question, quickly adopted a grave demeanor. I cannot, under any circumstances, forgive the person who endangered my wife. Such an act, especially in Coruscant, the heart of the Galactic Republic, is an affront to our values of freedom and democracy, he declared with fervor. However, his tone softened as he acknowledged the trade union's efforts in identifying and apprehending the culprit. I am satisfied with stopping at the secretary for punishment. I demand a strict handling of her case and a public apology from the trade union. Palpatine, with a smile, offered a gesture of goodwill. The Trade Alliance is prepared to lease an AA-9 large cargo ship to the Dawn Planet for a nominal fee of 10,000 credits per year, in addition to signing a trade cooperation agreement. This will undoubtedly enhance your capacity to assist the Outer Rim planets. However, I would advise a firmer stance to ensure these capitalists learn their lesson. Francis reiterated, a public apology is what I seek most. I will convey your request, Palpatine assured, nodding. The conversation then shifted to the topic of the planet Malastare and the Enterprise Alliance's proposal to increase fuel taxes, a matter that had been the subject of much discussion in Coruscant. Palpatine, keenly observing Francis, inquired about his views on the Galactic Republic's intention to tax the Outer Rim star regions. Francis, aware of Palpatine's schemes thanks to Tang Xiao's insights, approached the conversation with caution. While the idea of taxing the Outer Rim star regions by the Galactic Republic is commendable, it is imperative that the Republic also assumes the corresponding responsibilities that come with taxation. Unfortunately, the current speaker, Phoenix Valorum, is ill-equipped for this task. He lacks the courage required, Francis candidly expressed. Palpatine, feigning disappointment, responded, It's regrettable to hear such criticism of Speaker Valorum. We should be offering him our support. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Galactic Republic Parliament Building. Vol 2, Chapter 160, Farce in Parliament, Part 1. In the heart of the Galactic Council, a debate was brewing that could potentially reshape the power dynamics of the Outer Rim sector. Francis, with his unwavering political stance, was ready to support Speaker Valorum. The motion on the table would benefit the neglected territories. So, you believe the Republic should impose sanctions on the Enterprise Alliance for their actions? Palpatine inquired, his smile thinly veiling the gravity of the situation. Taking a moment to gather his thoughts, Francis responded firmly. If we allow the corporate alliance to prevail, It will set a precedent for other conglomerates to exploit the Outer Rim as their personal hunting ground. I cannot stand by and watch that happen. But you previously mentioned Valorum's lack of courage, Palpatine pointed out. If he manages to resolve this issue, then he's certainly not the coward I thought he was, Francis conceded, earning a slight smile from Palpatine. Very well, I'll accompany you to the meeting. You might even get a chance to speak, Palpatine offered, sensing Francis's apprehension. Speaking at the Galactic Council? That's daunting, Francis admitted, his nerves evident. Palpatine reassured him with a kind laugh. Don't worry, with me by your side, everything will be fine. The Galactic Council's meeting chamber was a sight to behold. A vast spherical space, both majestic and solemn, served as the heart of galactic governance. Surrounding the sphere, numerous disc-shaped anti-gravity platforms floated, each representing a political entity within the galaxy. At the center, a larger platform hovered, signifying the chairman's position and the highest authority of the Galactic Republic. As Palpatine and Francis made their way through the office passageway to their designated platform, they were greeted by numerous members of Parliament. Standing on the platform, Francis couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the grandeur of the parliamentary venue, far surpassing anything he remembered. Palpatine leaned in and whispered, "Don't stress too much. Today's discussion revolves around whether the Galactic Republic should intervene in the affairs of planet Malastare. Our role is to support Chancellor Valorum. I'm confident in his ability to navigate this situation." Francis offered a smile in response, though he already knew the outcome of the meeting, thanks to Tang Xiao's insights. Suddenly, a commanding voice echoed through the chamber. Speaker Phoenix Valoran has taken his seat. The assembly rose in unison, their hands raised in salute towards the center of the venue. An elderly man with a dignified bearing, dressed in the ornate robes of the speaker, made his way to the central platform, accompanied by his aged assistant, Deputy Speaker Botan. Speaker Finis Valorum and his loyal assistant, Mr. Botan, have dedicated their lives to the service of the Galactic Republic, Palpatine remarked, his tone laden with meaning. Francis watched as Speaker Valorum and Deputy Speaker Botan maneuvered the central platform, a sense of foreboding settling over him. The stage was set, and it was only a matter of time before the farce unfolded. Speaker Valorum's voice boomed through the loudspeaker. Today, we convene to address the dispute over planet Malastare. His announcement was met with a cacophony of reactions. Cheers, jeers, and murmurs filled the chamber, signaling the contentious nature of the debate ahead. Francis observed the chaos, recognizing it as a testament to Speaker Valorum's waning influence over the Galactic Council's diverse representatives. Silence. Deputy Speaker Botan's voice cut through the noise, gradually restoring order to the chamber. Taking a deep breath, Speaker Valorum continued, "We have invited Ainley Team, the representative of planet Malastare, to present their case." As the assembly quieted down, Francis braced himself for the proceedings, aware that the true test of Valorum's leadership and his own resolve was about to begin. In the midst of a heated debate on the planet Malastare, an anti-gravity platform gracefully floated to the center of the venue, positioning itself slightly below Speaker Valorum's platform. Standing upon it were three individuals from the grand species. The central figure, with a respectful bow to the audience, raised his voice, declaring, "The Business Alliance's proposal to hike the fuel tax on Malastare is nothing short of robbery. They blatantly plunder our planet's resources, drastically cutting our share, leaving our people to starve, and forcing them into near slavery." From the opposite side, another anti-gravity platform emerged, this one carrying several representatives of the Kuriwa species who were members of the Enterprise Alliance. As Representative Parcel Argent began to speak out of turn, Deputy Speaker Botan attempted to intervene. "Representative Parcel Argent, now is not the time for you to speak." However, his words fell on deaf ears. Unperturbed, the Enterprise Alliance representative retorted loudly, "When your planet Maratha was struggling in poverty and underdevelopment, it was our Enterprise Alliance that lifted you up, establishing a basic industrial system. We enabled you to manufacture your own parts and equipment, transforming you into a key supplier for the Tay shuttle competition in the state of Tatooine. Was that not enough? And yet, you now accuse us of engaging in legitimate business practices, calling us insatiable. Congressman Tim, visibly shaking with rage, pointed directly at Pascal Argent and countered, "Your increase in the fuel tax directly violates our initial agreement. Your relentless extraction has wreaked havoc on our planet's environment, and now, imposing a tax that claims 30% of our planet's income, do you wish to see our people starve? You would do well to revisit the agreement we signed. It clearly states our right to adjust the fuel tax," Pascal Argent shot back. "That clause was added under duress. You threatened us, saying we'd face consequences if we didn't agree. It's a clause born of robbery and should never be enforced." The argument between the two parties escalated, drowning out Speaker Valorum and Deputy Speaker Boaton's attempts to restore order. The council chamber erupted into chaos, with members vocally supporting either Congressman Tim or Representative Argent. Finding himself at a disadvantage in the verbal skirmish, Senator Tim suddenly turned toward Speaker Valorum and, with a voice filled with determination, appealed, "The planet Malastar requests the Galactic Council's intervention. We demand sanctions against the Enterprise Alliance's robbery and seek justice. If it's justice you want, I'll give it to you right away," Pascal Argent threatened, his finger aggressively pointed at Tim's nose. Attachment 1 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Galactic Council Venue. Attachment 2 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Speaker Finis Valorum.